2012, 8:30. Who wants to lead us in the pledge? Martha? We'll have a moment of silence. We'll have you lead us in the pledge. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag and pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. Judge Gascos is out of town this morning, so I'll be presiding over the meeting as pro tem. Are there any public comments? Anyone signed up?
Nothing here.
Okay, I've got one here. Miss Leticia Garzoria.
Good morning, commissioners and audience. I believe there was supposed to be an item on the agenda regarding District Attorney Villalobos. I don't see it on the agenda, and however, that was a part of what I had to talk about. So I will talk a little bit about it, even though it's not on the agenda. As a taxpayer and a resident of this county for the past 60 years, I believe we all are honest people. We've worked hard for our wages and our living, and we do pay our taxes very religiously. Without any further ado, we just go and pay our taxes. We want our public servants to give us the proper service that we need in this community. We are one of the most impoverished communities in the United States. That being said, the items that are brought up to light with the district attorney, I believe are, well, for lack of a better word, shameful. I would like this commission to review Mr. Villalobos's employment. If he has violated anything at all within the scope of his employment, his code of ethics, his job duties, and if he's violated it and it's come under black and white, this is what you did, I think it's within this commission to say you're not longer employed here. To have him continue to be the district attorney, with all due respect, they did elect him 2 times. But that does not mean the actions that he has done are favorable to this community, to this county. I would ask this commission to really look into this, because if he has violated his job, and we the taxpayers are going to have to fund his legal services for something that he's done on a private issue, taken private money and put it in his private pocket, and we must continue the sham, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair at all. And I think you think the same way. But we need to do something about it, and do it with a proper, clear conscience that these are federal charges, and whether he's guilty or not is not for me to say. But I'm just saying, if he has violated his employment, he needs to be terminated. And I want this to stand as my formal request to you, the commission. I do want him terminated. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Good morning. My name is Fernando Ruiz. Everybody seems to be alarmed at what's happening here. Cameron County has been one of the most corrupt counties since the time of Powers and James B. Wells. They stole the properties from the survivors of the Spanish. They have taken the royalties. We get scared because the commission is scared. Why? Because, well, we had Mr. Torres, nothing ever happened to him. Who else do we have? Do we have another district judge that committed felonious under a federal jurisdiction? He's still going around there. He hasn't been asked to resign. We had another district judge many years ago, and in a case that involved $1 million of bond money, and he was just given a slap on the wrist, but I'm sorry, he was Anglo. But you're a Mexican or a Mexican-American, watch out, because we're going to cut your head off. We have here the situation of Mr. Hernandez, public misconduct. You don't have to have somebody go to the courts and say, hey, we're going to proceed in this jurisdiction because of this. Nobody has done anything about it. Mr. Commissioner here is scared of whatever that we have to pay for Mr. Villalobos. We are going to pay for it. The taxpayers are going to pay for it because he represents us and he's an official of this county. And this is what we have to do because you know the Bible says, who has not sinned, throw the first rock. Can anybody look at me and say, hey, we have a system here, the appraisal district, which is felonious in every way concerning the economic measures that are taken when we had the bubble burst. We're stealing from all the people of the country, all the property owners, because the prices of property fell by 50%, the equity was lost, and the Cameron County, what they do, maintain the same prices and then increase the values. That's stealing from the people. What do you all have to say about this? Where's Mr. Torres? How come we closed the investigation after he passed away? Why have we not addressed the issue of Mr. Cadriel? Because I allege that Mr. Cascos went to Austin and talked with his buddy Abbott, and everybody's content. Now, there has been another individual that worked in the warehouse in San Benito that was the nephew of one of the commissioners. He was fired, but nothing was ever said about that. So, you know what? There's a lot of dirt, and you are not to tell us that you are clean and white as that sheet there. We need to back up Mr. Villalobos all the way and make sure that justice is served here, because we have many issues. For example, the navigation district, 46 million, the sports park, 10 million, we spent 50 already. I don't see anything over there. We have public entities double dipping, like the BISD and the Public Utility Board, in violation of the bond law that is in New York, interstate commerce. Where are the authorities? Who has jurisdiction in interstate commerce? We have federal officials back so many years that were involved in the crime syndicates and nothing was ever done to them. Slap of the hand. Let's get out the truth and let's start cleaning up this county in all that we have in the corruption. Like I've said, the corruption doesn't start here because we don't have to call them runners or this. We can call them lobbyists. Don't they buy for congressmen? The people that are supposed to protect the public trust? The senators? The politicians? At all levels of government? What are we scared of here?
Sir, I'm going to give you 1 more minute. You've already had 4.
Sir, I'm through. Thank you so kindly.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Item 2A, presentation and discussion of a request by Brother Albert Phillips for the streetlight service for the Meadowbrook subdivision in Cameron County, precinct number 2.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Yeah, Meadowbrook is right right east of Cameron Park. It's a new subdivision formed around 2003 by Community Development Corporation, and it's in the county. And they were not able to have street lights. Beautiful subdivision for low-income people, but now the county. Congratulations to the county. I think we're the first in the nation to find a way to get street lights in rural areas. So now there's a method. And so we are, as you all know, street lights are very important and very needed. The people in Meadowbrook subdivision have been requesting help since the since Cameron Park got their lights several years ago. I'm Brother Albert Phillip. I'm a volunteer with Proyecto Juan Diego. Sister Phyllis is the leader of that social agency there in Cameron Park. And they helped also get the street lights in Cameron Park. So the people there have been requesting since that time. We went around, surveyed the people, and no one said that they were not in favor. We did explain very well what the consequence would be, that they would have to pay their maybe up to $30 or more a year for the utilities, and that would be put on their tax bill at the end or the beginning of the year. And no one had any problem with that. And so the people are very much in favor, and they're willing to pay. And so we're here to request, as you see in your notes, it's $24,000 for 18 street lights in the subdivision, and 2 at the entrance on Dana Street at the entrance to the subdivision, which is really part of the subdivision. Oh, that's 20 street lights for $24,000. That's the initial cost. Did I leave out anything, Commissioner?
Yeah, Commissioner, or Judge, item H correlates with this presentation, and if you could go to item H, I'd like, so I can do some explaining. Could we do that?
Item
H.
4H.
Yeah, in the action, yeah.
Can we go ahead and acknowledge his
We
presentation?
can do that, whatever.
Move to acknowledge the presentation on 2A.
I have a motion to acknowledge presentation by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Hernandez. All in favor by signifying.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Let's go to item 4H, out of order. Consideration action to approve the funding of $24,000 to fund the lighting of the Meadowbrook subdivision off of Dana Road. The CB will reimburse Cameron County $10,000 upon completion and compliance of project requirements.
Judge, I put this item on the agenda after a meeting with Brother Albert and some of the neighbors over there. The Community Development Corporation of Brownsville has agreed to refund up to $10,000 or whichever is less to go towards the installation of street lights for this area. We have $400,000 from our last year's bond fund for street lights, and I think with the help of the CB, this will cost about $14,000 of our contribution from us, and especially for Precinct 2, to be able to put full-blown street lights in this area. Time is of the essence, because any time that we're going to do a subdivision that's going to be on the tax rolls for next year, it has to be done by July. Everything has to be done by July for Tony to have it in time to get it on the rolls. And this will be paid through their annual property taxes. And I would hope that the commission could approve this.
Are all the right-of-ways in place?
As far as I know, it's a platted subdivision, and
Because some of the issues that we had in other locations where we did light installations was when the utility came out to do the actual installation, the right-of-way to put either the overhead wire or a new pole was not in place, and that's what caused a delay for us. So my only question is, if there aren't, you need to quickly move on that.
Yeah, no, we got the plat from the Community Development Corporation. When they platted this subdivision, they had in mind streetlights, and its underground wiring is already there. So no need for easements.
Okay, so, but they're going to use poles,
They're going to
according
use
to...
concrete poles or
Yeah.
non-wooden poles.
Yeah. And as we're talking about this, I think that this commission should consider adopting rules to where anytime we have a new subdivision brought on, that, we ask our engineering department to include lighting as just part of the cost of doing business. Because, we're having to go back in these cases and do something that should have been provided for by the developer in the first place. So I think that, I think it's a great idea, and this is exactly what we put it in there for. And I think that the CDBG funding to augment it is even better, because it helps us move further along. But you know, it's time we start looking at that issue.
Commissioner, the new platted subdivisions pretty much all have made arrangements to have lights or lights in the future. The older areas of all our precincts are meets and bounds, so it's very hard to figure out where the right-of-ways and the easements are, and we're talking right now about doing solar lighting like in the San Pedro area.
Right.
Spotting 4 or 5 different, just wherever we can. We'll go out there at night and see where we need lights, and we'll put a light here and there without any specific plan. That's the only way you can do it. In some of these areas, to stay far enough away from the street and people's driveways where you can put lights. But this way, being that it is platted, is very simple.
Great.
I'd make a motion to approve this.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hernandez for approval, second by Commissioner Garza. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I've been asked to take the next item, 4I, out of order. Discussion and possible action entering an interlocal agreement with the City of South Padre Island for providing lifeguards on county beaches.
Yes, Judge, I asked that this be taken out of sequence. We had a presentation by the people that are doing the lifeguard duties on South Padre Island, and they were here like almost 3.5 hours the last time, and I know they need to get back, but that's why I know that you, oh, okay. Our legal department has looked at it. I guess the only thing is that I wanted to ask Javier, are we ready to do this? Do we have it in our budget?
No, Commissioner, we don't have this in our budget, but we could check with the auditor's office, see where we can get the funding for it.
Okay.
I know last time we brought this, Commissioner, to the court's attention, Vic Spricker had made a presentation to the court a few weeks before I brought it to the court's attention. But one of the issues I believe that was brought up by legal was the indemnification on the liability from the city. Right after that, we met with the city folks, and they said that they would take on the liability. We would be contracting them. The lifeguards would be their employees, so they would take, full liability if anything were to happen.
Okay, so then I guess you need to get together with the auditor's office and find out
For the funding?
where the funding could come from. I received a letter from a Coast Guard officer in charge at South Padre Island, Officer Sagers, and he wanted to let the court know that sometimes they are called to do rescues when we have drownings or near drownings right offshore. Their problem is that they cannot come in from seaward because of the sand bars that exist. So that limits their time to be able to come in and actually do the rescuing. So they were encouraging this court to move forward and recognize the fact that we do need this type of assistance at the island. And so I would like to make sure that we look at this seriously, and I know we've had some near drownings already this year. So Mrs. Galarza, will you work with Javier to see where, if anywhere, we would be able to get the money for this?
Yes, we will, as soon as we look at the packet and see what the cost will be.
Okay.
Do you know what the cost is at this point, what the projected costs are going to be for this?
I believe it was 56,000.
Yeah. Based on the numbers of our collections being way up, and now that we've closed some of the holes we had on the island, I don't see how the money would not be available. So it should certainly be there.
And the areas that we were going to protect or guard is Isla Blanca Park and Andy Buoy. Those two areas are controlled by, of course, the jetties and the city limits. And then up at Andy Buoy is the city limits to the city limits, which is the shores. Isla Blanca is about 1 mile Andy Bowie's about 0.6 of a mile.
Off the top of your head, do you know what your numbers are up collection-wise from last year to this year?
No, I sure don't.
I think you need to, next time, be prepared with that, because that's an easy, this is really an easy request that we should be able to take care of pretty quickly.
Okay. Next meeting, I'll be making our presentation on our revenues. I'll bring that up.
Okay.
Well, one of the things that maybe to look at too is look at the span that's being covered and what the shared cost would be. I mean, I haven't looked at this presentation, but in other words, is our contribution gonna be a fair distribution of the cost for the span that's being covered? Because if the city's having 4 miles or 3 miles covered and we're having 1 mile covered and we're paying half, it doesn't seem that it would be equal. And I don't know what the numbers are, I'm just saying, make sure we look at that.
Well, what is the cost right now that the city incurs?
I'm Vic Sprecher, and of course, I'm representing the city of South Padre Island as far as our beach patrol. And currently, we cover 5 miles, and we have 2 proposed systems as far as that you can consider. One, which includes lifeguard stands, and the other would be, if you don't want to do the lifeguard stands, which is actually recommended, would be, of course, to have the Jeep vehicles. And I have the cost outlined in there. For the very first year, we're talking about $218,000. That includes the guards that we would need. There's a system called Emily, which is a lifeguard.
No, I think my question is, what does it cost the city of South Padre now?
About $140,000
To
A
cover
year.
5 miles?
to cover the 5 miles. That is correct.
And
we're-
what do they use? Are they using stands? Are they using Jeeps?
They are, in fact, using Jeeps. With that, they're 2-man, and I can show you, if I can plug this in, exactly how that works. But to answer your question, it is Jeeps, and we are, in fact, going to the stands because of our increase.
Okay,
Visibility
I think my
coverage.
questions are real simple, though. You really don't, how many people do you have on your average day?
50,000 people.
No. On your average day per hour manning lifeguard stands?
13.
So there's 13 people working full-time every day?
Yes, sir.
In the 5 miles?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And what does that cost the city?
That costs the city, as far as our total, it's $10 per hour times that amount of people. And of course, if you'd like to see this, I'd be glad to.
How many Jeeps do you provide in that 5-mile stretch?
We have the 2.
Two
We have the 2 Jeeps. And that will be maintained, as well as our stands now will go ahead and be put into those higher beach zones. So if I can go back, I can quickly show you this. If I may, it's right in back of you. May I just show this to you?
We have screens in front of us. We
great.
see the same thing.
Okay. You know, obviously, our entire mission is really just saving lives. That's what we've all been about. And ever since 2008, when we initiated the Beach Patrol, we've lost 0 lives with 1 heart attack. Before that, there was 29 lives that were lost from 2000 to 2007. In 2008, when we initiated that, no lives lost. The county, on the other hand, has lost 22 lives. So, and you continue to lose your lives. You'll notice that the amount of people, of course, that we have. When a drowning victim is identified, of course, it's harrowing. You see the signs of the climbing ladder. It's hard to get out, but I'd like to bring one important critical thing, that it only takes 60 seconds once they've submerged. It takes 3 to 5 minutes for a person, actually, when they get in trouble, to drown. That's all. Whenever there was a 10-year-old boy down in Isla Blanca with 50 people standing around who went in over his head, no one could help him, and he drowned. they had contacted the Coast Guard. It takes the Coast Guard between 20 and 40 minutes in order to respond. Even our beach patrol that was up on the north end of the beach, by the time they came down, the same exact thing. On the very next day, there was a gentleman who weighed about 250 pounds to 300 pounds, they said, and he did the exact same thing, stepped in a hole, and of course, drowned, and people were horrified as far as what was going on. If you see this as far as Isla Blanca Park from 2008 to 2011, we lost a total of 9 people on Isla Park. On Andy Bowie, 2 people. On beach
When did
access,
the city beach patrols begin? What year?
this was from 2008 to
No,
2011.
what year did the beach patrols begin inside the city of South Padre?
2008.
2008?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and prior to that, you know, do you have any statistics of drownings within the city limits?
Yes, sir, I do. I have that. That was actually county and city from 2000 to 2007.
Just the city.
We didn't have it broken down that way. We just
Because
had,
I think that would help us if you did have it broken down.
they were lost, and of course, then they were finally recovered by the Coast Guard or emergency management, but we couldn't break it down as to was that the city, was that the county, but in fact, what we did know is that we had lost 29 people. As soon as we put...
In what time span?
That was from 2000 to 2007. As soon as we initiated the beach patrol, when we initiated the beach patrol in 2008, we had 0 drownings, but in the county, we've had 22 drownings, and those were specifically. Now, on Beach Access 6, I'm only saying 200 yards.
We had 22
22.
in 2008?
No, from 2008 to 2011.
In 4 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's exactly right. There was also another 7 unconfirmed. We didn't know. They were rescued by the Coast Guard, and so we couldn't identify as to specifically what beach it was. It was north, and so we figured that was past 6. There's an Emily system that we can quickly show you that's an amazing technology that will go out and rescue a person in moments. And we can show you that. That's strictly an option, by the way. We personally are going to be evaluating it down here on South Padre. They're bringing it down. There's 3 other lifeguard stations that have just, or communities that have just initiated that, California, Oregon, etc. And it's a miracle type system. You'll notice that for the recommended, I've broken it down as to exactly how many lifeguard stands we would need, and if in fact you would use the Emily system. So we have 5 on Isla Park. This one thing is in my way here. I can't see what that says. Let's see. Let's go back. Bear with me for just a moment, please. Okay, those are the drowning statistics. So the recommended, what we're saying would be ideal, is to have the lifeguard stands. That's the quickest way to respond. The other option, and by the way, you'll notice that it's $218,000. Now, if you don't use Emily, you save another $50,000. The lifeguard stands, it's a one-time investment, so every year it would be approximately $166,000. If we go to the Jeep system, as we currently have had, and then we're going to be going, the city will be going and adopting the beach stands, the price is still at the $136,000, and if we incorporate the Emily system, it's another $45,000, so a total of $218,000. $35,000. So it's expensive as far as on a yearly basis, but it's protecting the lives, and that's what we're all about. We found that the typical people who are currently patrolling, that includes the officers who are running up and down the beach, they're not prepared. So when they see someone in trouble, they have to call the Coast Guard or the fire department, or currently they call us, which is the beach patrol, and we attempt to respond. But you can't be all places at all time. That's why we're asking that you would take that, incur that into your budget, and we know that from that point, we're going to save those lives.
Now, the way you have this set up, there's going to be a purchase of the Jeep, there's going to be purchase of lifeguard stands. Are we as the county going to own those, or are you going to own those?
No. The first time, what we said was that would actually be county. It's a county investment. It's a county product. So we only have minor maintenance that would go into that, and we figure those are $15,000 each for each Jeep. If you can find a way to get it less expensive, then we say that's wonderful. But we will maintain the Jeeps, by the way.
You know, it seems that, you know, if I were a visiting member of the community to the beach, and you would tell me that for an extra $1 fee over what we pay today, which is $4, for an extra $1 entrance fee, you could protect me anywhere in this whole area. It would be a very inexpensive insurance policy to protect me or the visitors that I would take with me to the beach.
I agree.
You know, I mean, it's a no-brainer. You know, I mean, we have, when the last time that we looked at user fees at our park system, you know, we looked at what we brought in, what the costs were to maintain the beach, and we went through an elaborate formula. I think that it's time that we look, and I don't know how much, I think Javier is here, is he? Javier?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You know, I mean, we still have time to do something like that for the summer if we were to initiate something like this.
Yes, sir.
I mean, and we have the leeway in what, you know, the state government allows us to charge. And I know it's probably not a good time for somebody running for re-election to talk about increasing prices, but you know what? It's the safety of the folks.
You're going to save $22, Commissioner.
Yeah, that's the bottom line, you know. And, you know, I know that many people would not have a problem knowing that they're protected on the beach if it cost them an extra $1 to get into the park. I'm sure that there's some that will complain or have issues with it or say accessibility is an issue, but you know, when you can fund a system like this totally, fairly easily, because you know we can increase the return of an investment by saving those lives. I think that we ought to look at that. You know, let's forget about go find money and cut some other department or do something. Let's be proactive. Let's, you know, I mean,
Go ahead and
it's easier for them not to have to worry about giving change when it's $5 versus $4 for that matter, you know. I mean, we have a system in place in our park system now for collections that have been working well. So I think we ought to consider, bring us a proposal that details everything, seeing if a $1 increase could justify and pay for this. And we need to do it. You know, folks out there, you know, I think it's another marketing tool for our county park system to say that we've got lifeguards if legally, I don't know, you know, it needs to be reviewed, but if legally it's something that we can do and provide.
I don't think there's any question that we can do it. I asked Mr. Gonzalez to look into some of the risk assessment issues and risk management issues involved. I expect that we can come up with a contract, Commissioner, that would protect us as much as we possibly can be protected under the law. The indemnification promise from the city is helpful. And then as far as this fee, I don't think there's any question that we could up our fee $1 if that's the funding mechanism that you choose. So, yeah, I think we can do it. You know, if I've spoken with Juan briefly about the risk associated with the assessment, and he says he believes that, relatively speaking, the benefits far outweigh the risk to the county in undertaking this endeavor. So I think we're fine from a legal viewpoint.
Javier, how long would it take for us to go to GLO? I think they still, I mean, while they gave us that leeway, we still have to let them know that we're going to consider raising the fees over there by $1. Is it just a matter of picking up the phone and letting them know, or do we have to actually sign papers, or?
No, Commissioner, we can just send them a letter, just telling them, advising that we're going to increase it by $1.
And what we're using it
As
for?
long as we're using that fee for that particular activity.
Exactly, exactly. Look, nobody likes to talk about the word taxes, and that's why user fees are so popular, because it's only imposed on the people that use the beach or use a certain facility. That's what user fees are all about. So I think it's a very good idea. It's not going to hurt anybody. One more dollar, yeah, it's a bit of maybe a budget buster for some people, but if you're going to go out to the beach, people are, $1 is not going to matter. And if it saves lives, then it's well worth it.
I'm sure those 22 people wouldn't have minded paying an extra $1, that's for sure, or their family members.
Or their families.
Right.
To have that sense of security.
My concern here, though, is that we look at it and look and say, okay, the total project, what is the total cost? And if we're covering a total of 8 miles and 6 of them are city and 2 of them are county, then let's be fair with the allocation and distribution. So make sure that when you bring that back to us, that you give us a definitive breakdown so we can know for sure, because at the same time, I mean, I don't mind participating, but I don't know that the county should completely subsidize the city's activities. By the same token, I don't know if you have a people meter or something to keep count of how many people actually use that beach that the island has, the city has. So if we could have those numbers for the next time you come back, I'd appreciate that.
I don't think it was ever the intent of the county. I don't think that's what David meant, to cover the city part of it. The beaches are ours, the county beaches, and our fees imposed strictly for county purposes.
Sure, no, I understand, but if the cost breakdown is 50-50 and you've got 5 miles of city beach and 2 miles of county, then we're subsidizing them.
Well, not really, because they already have a fixed cost for theirs, and we don't have a fixed cost for ours yet, because we haven't imposed exactly what we're going to put. Are we going to do the Emily system? Are we going to put stands? Are we going to? Our part has to be a completely separate package with a funding source to go along with it. And so I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, and I think that, you can go back, look at your numbers, look at the number of vehicles that we have during the summer when you want to institute this project, and put it out there, and then work backwards. Work from the numbers that historically we've had in revenues, plus the extra $1, and see what that will buy us. And then present something to us that would buy us at a subsequent meeting.
Because I'm sure your plan isn't to say, okay, with the money that the county's paying, we're just going to put those lifeguards here and here, and they're only going to stay there. I mean, this group is going to patrol the entire area. And that's what I'm talking about, making sure that it's an even distribution.
Thank you. I think that's very fair.
Your costs included up at north end at 5 and 6?
Yes. Yes. My costs are all in here as far as the entire beach.
And it includes the further northern end of the county park system.
Yes, sir. It includes up to 6 and,
Right.
and up to 200 yards up on 6, and then it stops right there. We'll have to put a sign that says, past that point. So,
Which is understandable.
Sure.
May I show you this one quick? It takes 2 minutes to show you this one Emily system that has been, no, I think just right. No, it's done by one of the news reporting systems.
Yeah, that's all it's for.
Sent out into the ocean to help distressed swimmers. It's not something you see every day. A robot rescuing swimmers in the ocean.
I think they'd actually love something like that to hold on to. They know it's flotation, they're coming in. It was easy to hold on to. I had no trouble holding on to it at all.
And that's exactly what may happen here in Oregon. Operated by a rescue crew on land, Emily would get tossed into the ocean where she would tow a line and stop as soon as she reaches the person in trouble.
They grab on and the people on the beach pull the person back in, all without having to go into the water themselves, because sometimes it's not even possible for them to go into the water.
Emily is a remote control operated flotation device powered by an electric motor that can travel up to 40 miles per hour.
Very tough, waterproof, robust device that can be thrown and tossed all around, but it keeps on going.
Oregon fire crews say it's important to get Emily out here on the Oregon coast since our waters are too rough and dangerous for human lifeguards.
That puts our people in peril. If we had a robotic means of reaching a victim, even temporarily, so until the right amount of crews and the right people could come on scene, that'd be a great benefit to us.
But she's not ready just yet. Inventors are still tweaking odds and ends, preparing her for the harsh Oregon waves.
The idea here is that Emily fits in the back of the fire chief's truck or the rescuer's truck. They bring it down, and in a few minutes they have Emily off into the water to rescue the person.
And eventually, hydronautics managers hope to have a new Navy technology that will locate a distressed victim in the water.
Rescue crews say they were happy with what they saw out here today, and if technology proves itself in the future, they would like to get an Emily for any beach that draws in swimmers. In Depot Bay, Heather Turner, KEZI 9 News.
Thank you. By the way, that was over a year ago. It has been proven by Forbes magazine. It's been ranked as the top life-saving technology that's ever been produced. What you saw in those huge waves, as in Hawaii and in that particular area, it was tough, but they even got over waves that were as large as 20 feet. So in our climate, it's a possibility. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present this opportunity, and certainly for the guests that visit our island.
Move to acknowledge report and get subsequent information at the next meeting.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Garza to acknowledge the report and get subsequent information and funding source possibilities. Second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
I think it's time for this to come to fruition for our county, because I know I've been here 12 years, and every year we go through the same cycle of requests, and it's always difficult to find the funding source, you know?
Okay, any other items that need to be taken out of order, Commissioners? No? Okay, I'll move on to item 2B, presentation regarding space exploration technologies incorporated, developing a commercial launch site and a launch command center, Cameron County, Texas.
Judge, Pro Tem, Commissioners, a few weeks ago, Commissioner Benavides, myself, and a few members of the Brownsville Economic Development Corporation had an opportunity to visit with SpaceX. It's giving me some problems here. And next week, we will be having a public hearing here in Brownsville to discuss the project. Mr. Jason Hiltz with the Brownsville EDC is here to give a presentation. There is an item also on the agenda to approve a resolution in support of the endeavor. Let me just try to get this on. I thought it was on already. And so I'll turn over the presentation to Mr. Hild so that he can go over the formal presentation to you and to the public.
David, thank you very much. And Commissioners, good morning.
Morning.
As David mentioned, my name is Jason Hiltz, and I am the President and CEO of the Brownsville Economic Development Council. And yes, I would like to present, I think, this most exciting project for Cameron County and for Brownsville. I'd like to formally present it to the Commissioners Court and to the citizens of Cameron County. Just before I get going on my presentation, this is a project that the BEDC has been working since March of last year, when we received a phone call from the governor's economic team for economic development, where our good friend, Secretary of State Hope Andrade, had just visited SpaceX at their headquarters in Hawthorne, California. And at that time, the CEO, owner of the company, expressed interest in establishing a commercial launch site, and he mentioned Boca Chica Beach in Brownsville. And so, because of our relationships with the governor's team, they called us immediately, and we started the process of working with SpaceX. So, with that, I'd like to begin the presentation. Before we really get into it, there's a lot of different definitions and terminology in terms of spaceports, space stations, what have you. What we're talking about potentially for the site here in Cameron County is a rocket launch site, basically a commercial Cape Canaveral. There's all kinds of spaceports throughout the United States. Most recently, there was one developed in New Mexico, which is called Spaceport America, which was developed by Virgin Galactic. I will tell you that the state of New Mexico, along with the company, spent $250 million developing that spaceport. It took them 5 years to go through their environmental impact study because the location of that spaceport is within a tribal area. And to today, they haven't flown anything out of that spaceport because it was one of these things where you build it and they will come. And that's not the case with what we're doing with SpaceX. When SpaceX is considering the possibility, or anyone looking at the possibility of establishing a launch site, especially to enter the equator orbit, east-west orbit, they have to look at several factors. They need to be located near the equator. They need to be able to launch in an easterly direction. And this allows them to really use the maximum rotational speed of the Earth. The closer we are to the equator, the larger the payload and the quicker they can get into space. So it's more cost effective to do that. And as you know, a launch site needs to be built away from population centers. It needs to be close to a body of water. And if you look at the launch sites that are in the United States today, all of them are located on an Air Force base. There are no private sites as we speak. The launch sites that we're talking about, they're located in southern Florida, Virginia, Southern California, and Alaska. The first two deal with launches to the equator. The other two are for polar orbits. And as I mentioned, there are no private launch sites in the United States. I think you all remember about 10, 13 years ago, there was an effort by a consortium of several South Texas counties to develop a spaceport. And they had a site in Willisey County, and they actually were able to launch one or two 200-pound rockets at that time. But after that, it really went nowhere. Lack of funding, 9/11 hit, issues came, and so I don't really know what happened to that after that. But that was a plus for us. Because as SpaceX was looking at their research, as they began looking at the potential establishing a launch site, they looked at information that was developed by the Texas Aerospace Commission that stated that South Texas could rival the Cape Canaveral area. Also, we have the southernmost point in the United States without flying over any populated areas. The launch path from South Texas takes you directly between Conus and Cuba. Conus is the continental United States. We have a low population density in the area. Our supply chain in the state of Texas and coming from California is strong. And I'll let you know that when SpaceX started looking at their potential sites, they looked at over 12 sites in South Texas, from Boca Chica Beach all the way up to Kennedy County. Their most efforts were in Cameron County and Willoughby counties. Why Brownsville? Why Boca Chica Beach? If you don't, back in the 50s, Cape Canaveral was looking, or NASA was looking to develop Cape Canaveral. And we found in our research that actually Brownsville was one of 10 sites being considered by NASA at that time. As we all know, it ended up in Florida. The fact that we are the southernmost city in the United States, that we are right next to the Gulf of Mexico, we have the land, and the fact that we're in Texas is the things that really makes SpaceX excited about this project. As we know, the shuttle has been retired. After 30 years of service, NASA has discontinued that. I will let you know that this is not a shuttle launch. Different rockets, different fuel source. The shuttle launch, they used a solid rocket fuel. And basically that was a large stick of dynamite that once you lit that, you could never turn it off. And if you ever went to a launch over there, before they launched, they had a disclaimer saying if a plume of smoke is coming your way, you need to take cover because there were toxins in that plume. Actually, it could create acid rain. The fuel source for SpaceX is not that. It's a combination of a highly refined kerosene and liquid oxygen that when they turn that rocket on, they have the ability to turn it right off. Okay? And that fuel burns very, very cleanly. There are no plumes of smoke associated with that. When you see a launch, as you see up here, a lot of that is steam and vapors, because when they're launching, they're injecting water onto the flames to suppress the flames. Also, they use the water to minimize vibration, which protects the payload. Okay, but there will not be any kind of toxic plumes coming from this site. SpaceX is looking to deliver satellites and payloads to space from this location. And they want to build a site that will accommodate up to 12 launches per year, basically one a month. And they have two different types of rockets they're going to fly. Mainly they're going to fly a Falcon 9 with 10 launches, and then the Falcon Heavy. The difference between the two rockets, the Falcon 9 has 9 engines, and the Falcon Heavy has 27 engines, and they take a much heavier payload. If you look at the history of space, there's only been 4 entities which have ever sent a capsule into space and retrieved it. 3 of those are countries, the United States, Russia, and China, and SpaceX, owned by Elon Musk. If you look at who SpaceX is and then who Elon Musk is, he is the co-founder of PayPal. That's where he made his millions and billions of dollars. He owns Tesla Motors, which is a electric car manufacturing company. He owns another company called Solar City, which sells and installs solar panels throughout California. As mentioned, SpaceX is the first company ever to enter orbit and bring a capsule back. This is a company that's been around for over 10 years. They have today secured business and $3 billion in launch business with about 40 plus missions they have to complete. They have contracts with the U.S. government, NASA, domestic and international customers. They are headquartered in Hawthorne, California. They have launch sites at Cape Canaveral. They are building a new launch site at Vandenberg in California, which Commissioner Benavides and David Garcia had a chance to visit. They do have a research center and test site in McGregor, Texas. McGregor, Texas is close to Waco, about 20 miles. And you can see the photo up there is from McGregor, Texas. And what they do there, those are test stands. Every single rocket engine that they produce in California is trucked to McGregor, and each rocket engine is tested there. And so you can see how logistically important it would be for them to be able to establish a site here in South Texas, where in California, where they manufacture all their rockets, all their components, to send the rockets to McGregor, test them, and then send everything to Brownsville and do their final assemblies and launch from Brownsville. They do have offices in D.C., Houston, and Alabama, and today they employ 1,800 people, and before the end of the summer, they expect to be at 2,000 people. This is a growing company. Here is a bird's eye view of the Boca Chica Beach area. The site in question that they're looking at, which they have under control, is the yellow push pin. The green line is Highway 4. You can see that the site is right next to Boca Chica Beach. And then you see a red push pin back. They will build a launch site and they will build a command center. The command center will be at least 2 miles away from the launch site. It will be somewhere between 2 miles and that red push pin. A little bit closer view, the upper right-hand corner is the site, is a 50-acre site. They will only be building on 5 acres at the most on that site. They will not be building on the beach. They will be building behind the dunes. The site is parallel to Highway 4. They will be building on high ground, and they will not be restricting access to the beach on a daily basis. The only time the beach would have restricted use or access would be the day of the launch, and that is between 4 hours and 8 hours to the max. And there'll be plenty of notice before that happens. Any other time of the year, access will not be impeded whatsoever at the site. This is a view of their launch site pad at Cape Canaveral. And if you look towards the back to the left and to the right, you see some tall structures. Those are the old way of launching rockets, the Titans, the space shuttles, and what have you, Apollo, where you had to build huge structures. The way SpaceX does it is very minimal infrastructure is required. The 4 towers that you see are lightning rod towers. In Cape Canaveral, they have the highest rate of lightning strikes anywhere in the world. And so they need those lightning rods. And they'll have them here at the Boca Chica site. If we're able to bring them to Brownsville in the Cameron County, they'll probably only have 2 of those. They'll have a water tower as well. They'll save water, and that's what they'll use for the launch. And then you have your fuel sources there, the kerosene and the liquid oxygen. Moving forward, because this is a launch site, FAA is in control of this project today. Because of that, they are requiring that an environmental impact study be completed, which is starting, it's underway. I will say that this company, more so than any other company that we have ever worked with, has been very, very proactive in reaching out to the community, reaching out to governmental officials, reaching out to business organizations, to the federal government, environmental groups, whomever they could speak with, they are speaking to. And because they want people's input. They want to understand what concerns you may have so that they can address those concerns. And so I've been very appreciative of the way that they have been trying to conduct their business. Next Saturday morning, SpaceX will launch their Dragon rocket into space. That is the first ever commercial launch that will be going to the International Space Station. And May 19th at 4:55 in the morning it happens. And if they're successful with that, where they actually will deliver payload and bring the capsule back. That puts their $1.5 billion contract with NASA into play. That's an exciting time.
Where do they launch from?
Cape Canaveral.
Cape Canaveral?
Yes, sir. Okay. They've already started advertising in some local papers about a public scoping meeting, which we're going to have next week, Tuesday, at the iTech campus, which will start at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The environmental impact study will address environmental concerns, socioeconomic concerns. They will address all issues related with the launch site. This process could take 9 months up to 2 years. It all depends on what kind of comments and concerns are being expressed. And also it all depends on how the community reacts and comes out in support of this project. And I will let you know, we are still in competition with a site in Puerto Rico, and also the state of Florida wants them to stay there and add another launch site. They're not abandoning Florida whatsoever. They need Cape Canaveral. They need their site in Vandenberg, but they need a third site as well. They need capacity, and they need the opportunity to continue to go after business. I don't know if you know this or not, but we used to dominate space. Now we have to contract with the Russians to take products to the space station. What SpaceX is doing, they're competing with Russia, they're competing with China, they're competing with France, which are subsidized by their governments, and they're winning contracts to deliver payload to space. They're bringing business back to the United States, and Brownsville, Cameron County has an opportunity to share in that. Now, if you look at the economic impact, their investment for this project is $80 million. They would commit to 600 direct jobs, with the wages being 50% above Cameron County wages, which is a $50 million annual pay salary. This also creates indirect and induced jobs of 400. So you're looking at total economic impact of $70 million a year once they are fully operational. What I really like about this site, if you're familiar with Cape Canaveral, when there's launches, they attract people, upwards of 50,000 people per launch. And when they're going to see a launch, they plan on spending or staying 2 to 3 days. I'm not saying we're going to get 50,000 people coming to launches here in Cameron County and Brownsville. We have the potential to bring 10,000 visitors every month. What does that do for South Padre Island? What does it do for our restaurants? What does it do for our airports? It creates new tourism to our region. Also, if you look beyond the numbers, which I'm most excited about, is imagine having a commercial launch site here in Cameron County where our students, our kids can see this happening. And how does that start getting them excited about math and science? So there's great opportunities. Where they're located in McGregor, Texas, they're very involved in the community. They're involved with the school districts. The engineers there are in the schools, working, talking with the students. They have field trips from the local schools. They have competitions for their kids. They're really integrating themselves into the community, and they will do that here as well, providing internship opportunities. A commercial or a space visitor center will be created. Opportunities for school districts to incorporate this into their STEM programs. University college partnerships, UT Brownsville, TSE, TSTC. TSTC is the provider of employees in training for their site in McGregor. They want to work together with environmental groups. They understand there's concerns with sea turtles, and the way their site will be developed will protect sea turtles, the way they put their lighting systems in. Also, they train all their employees on how to be aware when sea turtles are moving and what do they need to do and how they work with authorities to protect them. If you look at launch sites in Cape Canaveral, in California, they're all in environmentally sensitive areas. And they've proven that launch sites and environment, the wildlife, can go hand in hand. Actually, it helps wildlife thrive because it keeps other people away, okay? Having this project coming into our community helps us develop a brand new industrial cluster for this county, aerospace. Creates new opportunities, and as I said, increases traffic at our airports, our restaurants, and what have you. Moving forward, as mentioned, SpaceX has $3 billion in contracts. They need the launch capacity. We're looking at increased visitors. We are at a very sensitive, critical point. When the commissioner was with Elon Musk several weeks ago, I think it was very clear that he wants to invest in a community that wants him. He wants us to be a win-win opportunity. It can't be him coming in dictating, but he wants to make sure this is a community that is working together and wants SpaceX. So moving forward, we have to be very careful in kind of words that we use. But I will tell you, we're out in the community, we're out throughout the county giving presentations like this. The other night I was in La Feria. One of my team members was in Los Fresnos at city commission meetings presenting. Throughout the community, there's a good sense of support and excitement for this project. And the one question we're getting is, what can we do to help? And what we're saying to people is, come to the public scoping meeting next Tuesday, May 15th at iTech campus. This is an opportunity for the community, the county, to really step up and come together. This can unify our community, our county, in economic development. I know that's very important to this commission, and this is a project that can really help us do that. We also ask you to search the internet, to do your own research before you form your opinion. There was an interview done several weeks ago with 60 Minutes on Elon Musk and 60 Minutes. It's a very good interview. It gives a good insight into who Elon is and what the company is about. And it's very interesting. The average age in the aerospace industry is 59 years of age. At SpaceX, the average age is 30 years of age. You walk through their engineering center in California, I'm showing my age, but I thought I was in high school with all these young kids running around doing the engineering for this company. It's fascinating to see. We ask for your support. There is, I think, an item for requesting your support for a resolution of support. I ask you to support us, support the company's efforts to develop this project. There's a long ways to go. They got to get through the environmental impact study before FAA will give them approval to fly. We need people to come out and support. If you can't join us on the 15th, there is an email address where our citizens can write letters of support. Also, log in to our website at www.bedc.com, and there's more information on the project as well. And lastly, the day the story broke, the first reporter to call us was LA Times, then the Herald, and we found it very interesting. And this not only true for Brownsville, but it will make it true for Cameron County. As the reporter said, I didn't know where Brownsville was before. Now I know, and other people are going to know where Brownsville is as well. Imagine that on a monthly basis, launching rockets from Cameron County, from Cape Boca Chica, for lack of terms. Byline on a monthly basis. What kind of publicity does that bring to our region, to our community? It's priceless. So I thank you for your time. I thank you for this opportunity to present, and I ask you for your support. And I ask you to join us next week, Tuesday, to come out and speak. The Brownsville City Commission has postponed or moved their meeting to the following week so that the mayor and the city commissioners can attend the meeting. And that's a good sign of support for this project. So thank you very much, and we hope to see you at the meetings. Thank you. Any questions?
Questions, comments, commissioners?
I just want to thank Mr. Hiltz for coming forward today and making this presentation. I know a lot of people may have questions, but I will tell you that I want to thank the City of Brownsville, the EDC, for having invited me and David Garcia to join you all in visiting the Hawthorne headquarters and then taking us on to the Vandenberg Air Force Base to see firsthand what they're doing over there. I'm really excited about this. I know we have here at least, besides the commissioners, at least 4 other public officials, starting with our tax assessor collector. We have our county treasurer. We have one of our constables. But I also know that we have people here that are county employees, and I urge you all, if you have time, please come out. And I'm sorry, we also have our mayor from Port Isabel. Urge you to please come out and support us in supporting this great project that could really, really put us forward in this county. So with that, thank you so much. And Judge, if it's okay with you, I'd like to take one more item, and I like to make the motion that we approve the resolution.
Okay, well, before we do that, Commissioner, any other comments or questions on this one?
Yeah, we need to acknowledge, but, you know, I don't know how many years ago, and we age ourselves when we say that, as you mentioned a little earlier, we were part of the Space Consortium of South Texas. Mm-hmm. That Space Consortium was a memorandum of understanding between 13 different counties in South Texas in support of projects such as this. I don't recall that that consortium ever dissolved. Okay. I don't recall that that consortium ever had a deadline as to when we would, you know, stop acting as a consortium, as a group in support of this. And I would encourage you to possibly research a little bit of that, and you might be able to use that next Tuesday. Okay. Because there's documentation already in place, there's agreements in place between counties, between us and the group that was interested in launching this. But I don't think it was specific to just one entity. Right. It was specific to the 13 county area. Okay. And that might be something that should be made part of the record on the 15th.
That's a very good point, and we'll do that, okay. Commissioner. Very important. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Any other comments, questions?
Motion to acknowledge. Second report.
We have a motion to acknowledge report, a second by Commissioner Garza. I do have a couple of comments, Mr. Hiltz. I just want to congratulate you on all your work. Secretary of State Andrade was here recently visiting with us, and I got to visit with her about economic development, and she said that you were far beyond your years in your endeavors with economic development, that you're part of a state committee that she has, and she really congratulated all your efforts and everything you do. So being a Cameron County citizen and resident, I want to personally thank you for being a leader in that, and I look forward to working with you. We have an agenda item that talks more about economic development and strides for the future, but these are exactly the type of projects that are, like you said, going to put us on the map with the LA Times and everyone else. So I congratulate you personally on all the hard work that you do. And I think this is a great endeavor. I think the public really needs to consider all the positive. I know you're always going to have people that are against, typically maybe in the environmental arena. But one thing that I was told, as just given some background on this, is with the sea turtles, they will actually have people that go out there and they will find all the nests, and they'll personally help remove the eggs to incubation. And basically what ends up happening is they save more lives of sea turtles that, you know, don't end up getting run over by vehicles driving on the beach or any other type of natural predators that would otherwise harm them. So I think it actually will strongly help the environment. And there's a lot of positive things about this that I think if people have questions, definitely show up next Thursday and Tuesday and become part of this. I think it's a great opportunity, but I just wanted to congratulate you personally.
Well, thank you for those kind words. And Secretary of State Andrade is definitely a very good friend of Cameron County. And she represents the state of Texas very well in economic development. But in terms of my work and the group, the work of the EDC, I can't do it without our staff. We have a fantastic staff. And I truly believe that this is a great opportunity, not just for Brownsville, but for Cameron County.
For all of South Texas.
For South Texas, but particularly Cameron County, to really step up and take a leadership role in economic development. Sure. Imagine the assets that we have that no one else has. The beaches, the multiple airports, the rail crossings, the crossings into Mexico, the university training centers, the malls, shopping opportunities, South Padre Island,
The seaport.
The
Port of Brownsville.
Look at that. Who can compete with us? But if we're working together as a county, promoting ourselves together, we can do great things. This is a good example of something could be very positive and great for this community, our county. We can build upon this. It hopefully will bring us all together on the issues that we need to be together on. Training, workforce development, skills, what have you. Those are so important.
Certainly.
So I'm excited about this project, and I appreciate the support that you all have given to this project. We know we met months ago on some of this stuff, but we have a great opportunity. And for people to come on Tuesday, SpaceX will be here. There will be, starting at 5 o'clock, SpaceX will have a demonstration, an exhibit of what they're trying to do, and it'll be open to questions. And then the public meeting will take place starting at 6 o'clock. The meeting ends at 8. SpaceX said they'll stay till midnight if they have to answer any questions, to talk to people, because they want to be part of this community. They want the community to have them here as well. So it's an exciting time, and thank you once again for your words. I appreciate those.
Certainly. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're going to go ahead and take item
P.
3P out of order. Consideration and possible action to adopt a resolution in support of Space Exploration Technologies Incorporated, SpaceX developing a commercial launch site and the Launch Command Center in Cameron County, Texas. I have a motion by Commissioner Benavides. Second by Commissioner Garza. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Okay, consent items. Do we have any items? I have been asked to table item EEFF. We need to correct item AAA on the cost of the registration fee.
Judge, can you table item S as in Sam, please?
Table item S. Now, do you want to table R? Because they kind of go hand in hand.
Yes, please.
Okay, table item R and S.
I want to pull out T, just for brief.
Okay. Pull out T for discussion. Anything else? Yeah, I got triple E and triple F to table. I also noticed that there's on item N, it says 444th, but that should be 404th District Court.
404?
Because item N is 444th, there's only one court reporter, and I think that was a typo. So M should be 404 instead of 444. That's Judge Elia Cornejo Lopez's court reporter on M, but they have it listed as 444th, and she's the 404th.
Did you say to table E and F, or triple E and triple F?
Triple E.
Triple E and triple F?
Not double E?
No.
Okay. He did say that, right? Yeah.
I said double E, I apologize. It's triple E and triple F, I apologize.
That's what I thought.
I misspoke, apologize. Anything else?
The only thing I wanted to ask our auditor, the mileage rate that we're paying, is that 44 cents or 45 cents?
44 cents.
I think on one of the travel items, I noticed they're charging 45 cents. Will you just check to make sure that it's at 44? Okay.
Anything else? Okay, do I have a motion to approve consent items with the exception of item R and S to table, T to pull for discussion, double M to correct, triple A to correct, and table triple E and triple F.
Double M, you want to do that with correction? We can do that with correction in the motion, with correction, correct?
That's correct. Just changing the 4 to a 0. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hernandez, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I'll abstain on double N, I abstain. And item T, consideration and authorization to execute SF 424 form for Bahia Grande Restoration Project.
Javier?
Yes, sir.
I think it's important just to update the court on what we're doing with that item so that everybody would be on the same wavelength as to the status.
Okay, what we're doing with this item here, because of the permitting and the comments from the federal agencies, they're requiring us to do further studies on the modeling, the salinity modeling for the Bahia Grande, what the permanent channel is going to do. So what we're doing is moving money from the construction phase or budget over to the engineering, and so that we can get the engineers to continue with the modeling phase of it. We're moving ahead on this project. Everything looks good. You know, all the agencies are on board. They just want to make sure that when we build this channel, that it's going to be a successful restoration project.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Garza, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I did one item on the consent that we already approved that I wanted to ask Martha, or just a couple items. On the constable's reports, Martha, there was a couple in there that you hadn't approved yet, and I think some of the JP reports or that haven't been reviewed by you. If you find any corrections or issues that need to be made known to us, can you bring those back to us later? I mean, their requirement is to report regardless. I mean, whether it's correct or not, that's for us to look into. But if you could do that, because I did notice Constable Robert Lopez, when he submitted his, it seemed that there was a copy of the JP report attached. So I don't know if that was on purpose or not, or if all the constables should be submitting the JP reports as well, because there's some collections that come in through the JP courts that get attributed to the constable. Thank you. Okay. Item 4A, budget amendments, line items, transfers, and/or salary schedules.
Judge Pro Tem, Commissioners, you have the budget amendments placed in front of you. The first budget amendment is for the repairs that are needed to the radio tower, and we're realizing $50,110 of program revenues to set up equipment maintenance, increase it by $50,000 for the tower rental, for the tower repairs that are needed. The next pages are all line item transfers. You have one for vehicle maintenance, County Court of Law 2, Constable, for elections, for the auditor's office. The next one would be for Public Works, utilizing $122,000 worth of fund balance to do road repairs. I believe Mr. Ada is here to address any, and if you have any questions on those.
They're utilizing fund balance from the disaster recovery funds from last year. The next one is for parks. You have one for the bail bond board. The following, the one on page 3 on the line item transfers is for the DA's office. They are utilizing program revenues, which is essentially fund balance in the drug forfeiture fund of $122,000, and they are increasing. The biggest increase that you will see in there is for 605, which is extra help. It's being increased by $83,382. You have miscellaneous line item being increased by $10,000. Professional services also by $10,000. Court costs are being increased by $5,000. Contractual line item is being increased by $6,788. And the rest of the increases to the different line items are minimal. Then you also have budget amendments for County Court at Law 2, for the WIC Department, Juvenile Probation Department, the Juvenile Probation Department again, and then the Sheriff's Drug Forfeiture utilizing $10,000 of fund balance for the vehicle repairs.
If we're tabling, triple E and triple F, was any of this funding going to be used for that? Is it necessary for us to make budget adjustments or amendments if those contracts are canceled or tabled?
The only change that maybe Sam Smith could address that better, the $122,000 budget amendment, there's $83,000 of that going in extra help, so I imagine they're using extra help money. In the professional services agreements that were tabled today, you have the professional services being increased by $10,000 and the contractual line item being increased by $6,788, which is where those costs are usually incurred.
So the extra help wouldn't be used to fund those costs? That's other stuff?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
Now, the court may choose to approve particular line items. That's up to your discretion.
I'm just saying, do we need to make a budget amendment or adjustment if we table those contracts? Was any of this included in our amendments part of those two contracts?
I know that I sent Civil an email yesterday regarding budget amendments that they would need if these contracts that were tabled today would be approved. They have minimal funds available right now in the contractual. I think in the contractual line item, they only have like about $6,000 still available. And in the professional services, I think it's less than $500 that they have.
So this transfer isn't to pay for any of those contractual obligations?
No.
I don't believe so. I don't know if Sam Smith has anything he wants to add to that.
Okay.
Okay. So this is for other help?
The grant application that we're doing today?
Right, that's a different deal, but
Right.
The CR what? I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. Okay, the committee that has been appointed or has not been appointed yet? Was there a committee associated with it?
We created a committee because as a county, we have a requirement to report to the state.
Right.
The CR 43 is the form that DPS uses to track criminal history on anybody that's ever arrested. And that form has a 3-section sheet. And the first section is the prosecutor, the first section is the arresting agency, the second section is the prosecutor, and the third section is the court. And what's happened over time is not everybody fills in their section, so the reports when they get back to Austin are incomplete. So Austin will run a criminal history on, let's say, John Doe, and it shows an arrest but doesn't show the prosecutor action or disposition, or may show that the prosecutor's office accepted the charge, but it doesn't show a disposition. So what the state's doing is, in order to have complete updated records, is they're forcing all the counties to be up to date on their reporting, and if we don't report, we're going to lose a lot of grant funding. So Pete has that item on to apply for grant funds, because the state is even saying, we have grant fund money available if you need help to hire people to get your things in order to get all the reporting up to 100%. And what Sam's saying is that a lot of this extra help money is, they're not going to wait for the state to give us the money to get it done. They're already proactively within their own office and budget using that money to do it. Is that correct, Sam?
Triple E and triple F. Okay, yeah. I did not know what CR 43 was, because I remember we had a meeting in which it was presented that a committee was going to be formed, and we suggested.
We have commissioners and a lot of people in the county that shown up at the meeting. We try to set out each specific department, what they had to do. We're working on that, kind of pushed up on some time. There's been a lot of work.
Is there a deadline that we have associated with providing this?
There's two deadlines. There's two September deadlines. There's a September this year and there's a September of next year. And funding is impacted on each of those deadlines.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
So we need the extra help to meet those deadlines.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Anything else, Martha?
That's it on the budget
Move to
amendments.
approve.
Motion by Commissioner Garza to approve, second by Commissioner
Second.
Hernandez. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Claims?
Claims, you have warrants number 279-359 through 279-567, warrants number 279-572 through 279-708, ACH Caremark medical claims for $264,257.46, payroll dated May 11th for $1,683,910.60.
Are
For your
there,
approval.
are there any RMA claims in here, Martha?
No, there are none.
Okay. Do you recommend?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Garza, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 4C, approval of minutes for the March 1st, 2012 special meeting, March 8th, 2012 special meeting, March 15th regular meeting, March 19th special meeting, and March 29th special meeting. We all had the opportunity to review the minutes?
I don't have a problem with any of them except for 315 that I need to get where they on. So I would ask that I would move to approve all except for the 15th.
Is a motion to approve all with the exception of the March 15th regular meeting?
I'll second that.
There's a second by Commissioner Hernandez. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Item D, discussion and possible action to create a county economic development task force committee. I had put this item on the agenda. We've been working a lot on economic development plan. David Garcia and I have gone to, and the judge went to San Antonio. We met with some of the folks in Bexar County. We've talked about meeting with some folks in Harris County. And basically what Mr. Hiltz was talking about and pushing forward our economic development plan, we need to start being a little more proactive and actually pushing the wheels forward. These other larger counties actually have an economic development department within the county. We don't have that right now, but if we create a committee or a task force to start looking at the different models that other counties have and different opportunities on how to fund a department or how to fund some projects, we can come up with some pretty good ideas, I think. But in order to do that, I think we need to have a task force or committee that we can work with to to actually look at what other cities or counties have done. I know in Bexar County, they created or used a venue tax, which is on the hotel and rental cars. So anytime someone rents a car or occupies a hotel room, there's a portion of money that's set aside that goes to the county's economic development plan for their venue sporting. And so they've been able to create a lot of sports parks and help the community grow, and that be an attraction in the city of San Antonio. I know the city of Houston has the Greater Houston Sports Authority, and they have other things that have ideas on how to create revenue to help either the department or projects grow. So what I had done is I had asked David to put an item on, so even if we don't have a department, we could maybe look at creating a department or look at ideas on what we can do at this point in time to start moving in that direction. A budget time's coming around. I know next year, you know, we're going to have to look at everything, and maybe this would be an opportune time to look at maybe starting an economic development department, or at least one person working on that full time, because it's like Mr. Hilt said, if we don't start looking at things county, regionally, we're not going to be able to attract a lot of investment. You know, Bexar County was able to bring in Toyota, and that was several $billion-dollar enterprise. Right now, they worked with Seguin, and they have Caterpillar coming into Seguin. So there's a lot of opportunity, but it's going to take us working together with the cities, with the port, with our colleges, with their universities, with everyone as a whole to come up with a plan, because one of the things that Secretary of State Andrade spoke about was that the committee or team that she has that Mr. Hiltz is on basically goes out and promotes Texas to the world. Well, when they're promoting Texas to the world, we want them to be promoting South Texas, Cameron County, and our region to the world as well, because it's like you said earlier, we have a rail bridge into Mexico that's on the verge of opening. We've got our seaports, we've got Mexico on the border, we've got a lot of people here, and the more that we're able to attract companies like SpaceX and other type of industrial companies to come in, we grow our job opportunities, local shops, restaurants, tourism. I mean, we've got a lot of natural resources here that I don't think that we've capitalized on enough to be able to go out and sell ourselves to the world. And so that's why I had this item put on.
As a participant with the city for a long time, I know the city's done a great job, because I've worked with Jason for many years. We're dating ourselves again as far as how long we've been around. One issue that's come up in the past has been hotel motel tax. I know there is a gap right now between what the cities and the counties charge, that they could actually go up 2 more percentage points, but they're not. So that's something we could ask the state if that money could be added and diverted to the county. The other thing would be a 1/4 cent sales tax added to the state sales tax. It becomes a user fee again, that the money is used specifically for certain priorities. At one time, the city of Brownsville tried to do a deal on bus for bus by adding, and it failed miserably, because it was for, you know, on this particular issue, there's other avenues and other gaps that haven't been filled in yet. And it goes back to what we talked about earlier about the user fees and stuff, and I strongly support it. And I'd like to help you as much as I can to get it started. I don't know if we can afford to hire anybody at this particular point in time, but we can certainly form committees and do a lot of it ourselves and work with Jason and other people, because Jason promotes the area, not just, it's Brownsville Economic Development Council, but they work for the whole area. So we need to basically piggyback with what they're doing now, not try to reinvent the wheel.
Certainly. Any other comments?
Commissioner, I would like to ask you, when you're setting up the task force or committee, how do you anticipate doing that? Or?
Well, what I'd like to do is maybe ask participation from like Mr. Hiltz and maybe someone from Harlingen, someone from the island, a couple of people from the cities. Not get it too big, but just because this is basically coming up with a plan on how we're going to go forward. There's statutes already in play that talk about how to develop an economic development program at the county level, but I think before we just start and say, okay, we're going to do this one, we should talk about it among the participants and say what would best work for us, because this isn't going to be, hey, Brownsville, stop doing what you're doing, or Padre Island, stop doing what you're doing. It's continue to do what you're doing, but let's come up with an idea on how we can all collectively work together, and everybody's continuing to promote their economic development within their cities, but as a region, you know, what kind of draw can we pull on the world? What can we show the rest of the country, the rest of the world, that in South Texas, we have in a 150-mile radius, 4.5 million people. We've got a labor force, we've got colleges and universities, we've got a port, we've got airports, we've got the seaports, we've got all these things. We've got South Padre Island, we've got a lot of birding, we've got nature. How do we come up with a cohesive plan that we can be an attraction to the world? And I think that plan comes together by getting different participants from the different entities and saying, okay, these are the three options. I think this one will work. I think that, and ultimately come up with a plan that we'll bring back later and create something. So I'm not saying that we hire someone in the next budget, but it's something we can consider or look at.
Just piggybacking on the comments Commissioner made, some of the things that we've been looking at and researching with regards to raising some revenue and some fees, you know, would be a visitor tax that has been implemented in other counties where, you know, they implement a visitor hotel motel fee, rental car fee for attracting investment and attracting infrastructure. It doesn't necessarily have to be for sports related activities. It can be for convention type facilities, parks, venues that will host different activities. And so we're doing the research with our delegation to see how we can take some of those existing statutes and maybe implement some of those fees, hotel, motel, rental car fees, and the other one would be the visitor tax.
And with the session coming up, if we wanted to ask the legislature to give us a specific statute for Cameron County, we could do that as well. But again, we can't show up on January 1st and ask Representative Lucio Oliveira, can you carry this bill? Senator Lucio, can you carry this bill? I mean, without knowing what our plan is. And so the purpose of this is get a committee, a group working together so we can move into getting exactly what it is that we're going to go into.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the project has already started on a positive note. I know the judge had a meeting in his office and Commissioner was there with all the mayors from the different cities, from La Feria to the island and to Brownsville. And so, you know, everybody in that meeting was in agreement that we all needed to push forward together, you know, as a region, as a county, to try to attract, you know, more attractive development and positive infrastructure.
Definitely.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
No, I think that, you know, initially when you first came on, we had a number of conversations to get this off the ground. I know there's been, you know, a lot of different discussions that have occurred in the process, but even if for nothing else than to support initiatives that any of the entities, the local municipalities would have from our level, as far as the government is concerned, would be very beneficial to any EDC or any municipality that we have. And I think that sometimes we see ourselves in a competing mode with each other instead of a mode where we can collaborate and all benefit from the initiative that is being worked on. I know one of the things that has been discussed over the years that has not come to fruition because of, I think, people wanting it done in their backyard instead of somebody else's backyard is an arena type place, kind of like the Dodge Arena or now the Allstate Arena, or State Farm Arena, whatever it's called now. But I know that we've had many meetings in years past in trying to move that venue forward.
That's true.
And it becomes a territorial, is it going to be done in your city limits or in my city limits? Is it going to be done in this area or this area? And, you know, who can better accommodate this? And I think that, you know, for that type of venue, I mean, it's a shame that that arena is in Hidalgo as far as I'm concerned, you know, because the leadership in this little town made it happen when everybody else in the whole, you know, 750,000 populated county, you know, missed the boat, you know. And their activities there have been very, very successful. The way that they funded it has been successful. And, you know, we can't even get together between La Feria and us as to where can we do something as a county or as a Cameron County region to make this happen over here. You know, why do we have to travel over there all the time? There's legislation in place, you know, the value or venue tax that they talk about as it is in Bexar County. Bexar County put this arena where the Spurs plays now, that, you know, they have $400 million in excess dollars available to the county to promote and to do quality of life projects for Bexar County as a result of that endeavor. $400 million. Short-sightedness, I think, is the biggest problem. And I'm going to go back, you know, to the, you know, we had a project that the RMA was looking at that was recently taken off the MPO list that possibly could have created $400 million worth of value-added money for infrastructure improvements, but yet it doesn't get funded. So I think creating a group to move forward and presenting everything from infrastructure that is directly impacting how SpaceX will get from here to where they need to be if they come in, and what roads they need to get things done. Everything is integrated. It's one big package. And I know maybe, you know, I'm at fault for concentrating mostly on transportation in the last 10 years, a whole lot. But I think that we've tried to move an agenda forward that complements economic development.
Sure. And Commissioner, that's kind of how this came about, because when I just came on a little over a year ago, and a lot of this was new to me. I didn't really know what the RMA was. I didn't know a lot about that. But when I started seeing a lot of the development that the RMA was doing, I started thinking, well, what are we going to build along these roads, along this infrastructure? Do we have a plan? Because if you don't have a plan, I mean, it's nice to have little communities, you know, pop up, but I mean, we need to look at economic development along these highways, along these connectors, and think, what's the big plan? And that's kind of what got me going on this economic development thing. And then Pete and David, through the RMA, had kind of started coming up with a plan. But the reality of it is, and looking at the interstate, and I've learned a lot actually from you with the transportation, but I thought, you know, why don't we have an interstate? We've been working on it for 30 years, and one of the things that came to mind was, at the state level, they see South Texas as, well, Hidalgo County's fighting for 281, Cameron County 177. We're not going to be able to fund both, so we'll give them each a little bit. Just, you know, it's too much to do both, so we're not going to do anything. But if we started working together and got together as a region with Hidalgo and Cameron and said, you know what, we need an interstate that has two legs, just like Dallas has 35 west and east, you know? We need that, especially because of evacuation with hurricanes and the condensed population. But if the city, if the state looks at Cameron, well, they see 400,000 people. If they look at Hidalgo, they see 750,000 people. But they never look at us as a region and see 4 million in that South Texas area. And that's what we need to promote more. And that's kind of what gets integrated with all that we're talking about. Because, you know, SpaceX, one of the reasons they're really looking at this area is they build their rockets or engines or whatever you call them in McGregor, Texas. So it's a lot easier to get that equipment from there to here than it is to send it to Florida, to California, or Puerto Rico. But what do we need for them to get it here? We need the connector, the highway. So it's a culmination of everything. I mean, the medical school, look what just happened. Austin got their medical school and they got funding. UT said, we will support a medical school in South Texas, but we don't have a method or mechanism of paying for it. What does that mean? That means locally, we're going to have to get together and come up with it. Can one county do it on their own? No. It's going to take all of us working together. But that right there is an economic development project that is beyond just, where do I want it in my backyard, kind of like the arena. It's, you know what? As long as it's in South Texas, who cares where it's at physically, because it's going to benefit the whole region. The arena, if you know, we don't have a big convention center or venue in Cameron County or at the island to bring in a lot of conventions. But think about it, I mean, in the off season, our island community, our small businesses suffer a lot because they don't have the business year round. It's seasonal. Well, what if we could bring in people's conventions to come in and have their conventions in our area during the fall, during the early spring, when it's not a high season, but they can afford to come here because the rates would be better and we have a place to do it, you know? But hand in hand, well, we might need an arena, we might need a venue, but as long as we don't fight over, oh, it has to be in San Benito, it has to be in Brownsville, has to be on the island, as long as we can all agree on, hey, whatever's here is gonna benefit. I mean, think about big cities. If you go live in a big city, where do most people want to live? Suburbs. They live outside of town. They go work inside and live outside. So there's development outside of town. And so the sooner we get to thinking collectively and working together, I think the promotion of our entire region is going to benefit at very many levels, with getting our interstate complete, getting a medical school, bringing in high-paying jobs, big development, and making our area known to LA, like the LA Times reporter said, now I know where Brownsville is.
And I guess along those lines, when I asked you the question, Commissioner, is informing the committee, how do we get, well, someone like yourself and the judge like you all traveled to Bexar County, then are you going to be visiting the different cities or counties here in South Texas to be able to bring this about? Is that what you want to do?
Right.
Is that how you want to do it?
The idea is to get, you know, Mr. Hiltz from Brownsville. Harlingen right now has an interim, Don Hubbard's, you know, working right now over there. Padre Island, you know, get a few. If it gets too big, it's going to be harder because, again, this is just an initial formulation. So I think we would ask, and if you want to, you know, lay it out, we can right now, but I would ask at least like San Benito, Harlingen, Brownsville, and Padre Island at the very least. You know, the four larger cities, or three largest cities, and then the island, because that's a big economic draw, and then some economic development people, the judge, myself, I mean, we can only have two, David Garcia, and come up with a plan that we can start formulating, but not more than 8 to 10 people, I would say, so it can be a working committee. And then instead of reinventing the wheel, we start looking at, okay, Jason, what do you suggest? You know, Don, what do you suggest? Mayor Pinkerton, you know, what are your thoughts? And all of us start working together. So I would say to form a committee of no more than 10, and the formulation of who we put on there, I would suggest that we come up with it between the judge and myself.
Okay.
I think that would be good, you know.
And if we need to change it or modify it, we could always come back and talk about it later.
Okay.
But this at least gets us moving.
And identify the potential funding sources that there might be that could be utilized, or others that might be needed that don't exist today that can be utilized.
It's not just the funding sources, Commissioner, it's also what do we have to offer as a county? And I'll give you a prime example, because it's one of your pet projects. We have that county airport out there. You know, why can't we talk to SpaceX? They have suppliers, people that supply them, people that want to build. We have a huge facility out there, very viable for construction. We're bringing windmill components in on ships. Why can't we be building them out there at the Cameron County Airport? We could, but nobody's pushing that deal. So that's pretty much, Dan, it's not just getting everybody together, it's coming up with our own ideas and push. That's how he's done it for years. And they don't always win. They don't always hit them, but when they do hit one, they get big ones.
Sure.
So that's just one idea of what we have to offer as a county.
A few years ago, Boeing was looking at building the Dreamliner here. And they came in and they looked at it, but for whatever reason, it didn't happen. Maybe because we didn't have a plan in place. Maybe because our port didn't have the connectivity. Who knows? But, you know, right now, I know a lot of these major airlines send their planes to South America to get service. Well, why not send them to Cameron County, to our airport, where we have all the space we need? We have the mechanics that can get trained at TSTC. I mean, plenty of land out there.
I talked to Jason about an airline maintenance facility already. We've talked about this. So I was at a meeting yesterday, and they were talking about building a rail line from the port to the airport. And I started thinking, you know, if we had a rail line from the port to Cameron County Airport, no real environmental issues out there. I mean, what a coup that would be to be able to move supplies to the airport to build something to ship out on I-69. So there's a lot of potential.
Sure. There's even there's a light rail. I had even thought about maybe looking at doing a light rail that would connect Hidalgo County through Harlingen, Brownsville, the island, and back. Think about how many people that visit the island from Hidalgo County wouldn't have to drive their car. It'd cut down on the traffic, but it'd have people connected. People that live in Harlingen that want to go to school in Brownsville can get on the light rail. You know, I mean, there's a lot of potential projects and opportunity out there that benefit all of us. But again, until we sit down and start moving it forward, it's not going to happen. And so we need to be a little more proactive. And, you know, I'm not blaming anybody. It's just we all have so many things going on that I thought, you know, this is something that if we don't start pushing, it's not going to happen. And so by pushing this, it's going to help the transportation projects that we have. It's going to help trying to draw the medical school down. It's going to help investment. It's going to help expanding the port. I mean, it's going to help do a lot of things. And like you said, we key on experts that we have, like Mr. Hiltz and other people in the community, and say, hey, let's get together and figure out the plan for the big picture. So
I'll make that motion to create the Economic Development Task Force for Cameron County.
Second, and you and the judge will kind of get the group together.
Okay, I've got a motion by Commissioner Hernandez to create an Economic Development Task Force / Committee that the judge and I will pull together a group of, let's say, not more than 10, by Commissioner Hernandez, second by Commissioner Garza. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item E, consideration and approval of upgrade and purchase of new radio equipment for the Cameron County Radio Communications System as per a recommendation from Motorola Communications utilizing the Houston-Galveston Area Council of Government Interlocal Cooperative Purchasing Agreement contract. Option 1, Option 2, A and B.
Judge, Pro Tem Commissioners, I don't know if Humberto's around, but we have been having some discussions regarding this issue. We had a meeting yesterday with representatives from Motorola to figure out how we can best move forward, you know, with the funding that we need and the equipment that we need. Our recommendation at this point is to table this item until we can get a better picture of what we're going to be needing from Motorola. I know that they are going to be sending in some staff to come in and look at our tower and what we have out there. And so we would recommend tabling and bringing it back probably in the next 2 weeks.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Commissioner Hernandez to table, second by Commissioner Benavidez. Any further discussion?
I have discussion.
Yes.
You know, I am a little concerned about this particular project. And no disrespect, I know that, you know, the Emergency Division has been trying to help and move this forward, but I think this is an issue that we need to deal with the sheriff. I think that this dispatch is totally within the sheriff's purveyance. He is the one that has always, or his office, maintained, operated, and done the work on this tower. And I, as one commissioner, would request that they kind of take over this project. I think that there's funding opportunities that exist within the arena of the sheriff, and I think that he needs to be at the table and lead in the forefront in taking care of this, tower that we have. His issues in modernization and making sure that we're P25 ready by the year that it's due, he's well aware of. He's got the largest user group of anyone in this county on that tower. He's always had the largest user group. And I think that I would feel more comfortable if he took over this project.
Well, but let me ask you this, and again, my novice to the item, is it an obligation of the sheriff to provide communication or us as a court?
It's an obligation of us as a court, but he is the biggest user and has always been, and has always in the past been the one that has been responsible for making sure that we keep it up, we upgrade it when necessary, and it can handle what it's got.
So you're saying, Sheriff, here's a check, go buy what you need to, or Sheriff, you need to pay for it or help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
Or
Well,
a combination thereof.
Look, this is a law enforcement activity for the most part, okay? For the most part. The dispatchers and everyone in the whole scheme of things that uses this, in the majority, is the sheriff's department, or their, the other entities, Los Fresnos, Port Isabel, all the little entities that are associated with this. And they, how many radios does the sheriff have out there? Hundreds.
200 and 300 and
Total county radios on the system, 816 radios.
How many
That's
does the
mobiles,
sheriff-
portables, et cetera.
How many does the sheriff have?
Sheriff's Department has 115 plus 30 mobiles, 115 plus 30 portables, 4 base radios, 4 consoles. The jail has 10 mobile radios, 137 plus 130 portables. The reason they're broken down is because I've broken those numbers into what's able to go to P25 already and what is not, what needs to be replaced.
So
of
he's got
those
about
total,
600,
So there's some conversion, and so on the ones that you can convert, we don't have to buy new radios, but there's a conversion cost, right?
there is a software cost and an upgrade cost. One is to program the radio with a new template, and the other is to flash it with the right software to go to P25.
And then there's a difference, this communication, there's the actual, I guess, home base or these cards we were talking about last time, and then there's the actual radios. And I guess that's why I asked the question. Do we as a commissioner's court, are we responsible for the home base and then tell the sheriff, if you want radios, you need to buy them? Or can we just throw everything at him and say, you have to do this?
Dispatching and radio operations, we don't have any control over. It's the sheriff that does that.
But I guess everything the sheriff does, we've got to fund.
Yes.
We have an obligation. So that's why I was asking, are we going to say, Sheriff, go pick what you want and then send us the bill?
No.
So
I'm saying that just as, how many radios does your department have?
We have 6 portables and a cache of 7 additional radios that we can hand out during emergencies.
Okay, 13. But we've never used those other ones because we've never had an emergency of the significance that I've ever been issued one of those.
We did issue those when South Padre Island has spring break. We loan them radios, et cetera.
We might have loaned them. But again, though, you're talking about 13 radios, and we have the folks that operate 13 radios leading the action of what we need to do with the whole radio communication system. when we have a user that has over maybe 700 radios, I don't know, that is the main user of the system, I feel that the guy that has the most radios out there
should be at the table.
Kind of like at the table and, moving us forward,
I don't have a problem with that.
One comment I know for a fact, and I don't mean to embarrass you, Chuck, but there's not anybody in the county that probably has more knowledge of radio systems, especially Motorola, than Chuck does. He's been doing this for years and years and years, and he basically has a huge background. I think that's why, I don't think it was by design, but basically by default, because of his experience. He probably has more knowledge on how the systems operate. I think maybe your concern is more about who's going to pay for them.
My concern is operationally and funding source-wise.
Okay, yeah.
We need to make sure and include folks and have them be the decision makers to some extent of the recommendation to us, since they're the largest user of what we're buying.
Right, and Commissioner, that's what we do. We do work a lot with the Sheriff's Office, with Joe, with Lieutenant Garza. We have met several times and said that this is the problem. Of course, emergency management inherited the operations and the maintenance and the responsibility of the radio, and I agree to an extent that, we're only 6 people and we're only very few radios, but we do work with the Sheriff's Office a lot. We do sit there. Whenever there's a problem with the system, we don't call them. We don't call the maintenance guys. We allow Joe Salazar to make the decision and call if they have a problem in the middle of the night or at 2 o'clock in the morning.
You allow or they just call?
Well, it's our responsibility as in black and white. It's our responsibility, the towers, and how we pay for them and how we do it and how.
And why is it your responsibility?
It's just something we inherited.
What do you mean you inherited? By law? Is there a statute that gives it to you?
When I came in a year ago, emergency management was the one tasked with keeping up with the radio system. That's not something I created.
Well, the only reason emergency management was involved, I've been here for a long time.
Right.
And my recollection of the involvement of emergency management was when certain grants started to become available to upgrade equipment, and the department that was applying for those grants was emergency management, because they took it upon themselves to help and to move it. But the ones responsible always for that operation has been the Sheriff's Department. I mean, at least since 2001, unless something has changed.
It's actually written into the annex that both the Sheriff's Department and emergency management are responsible. Sheriff's Department has primary responsibility for seeing that it gets repaired, but we're supposed to help them. We're part of their support.
Well, I guess the recommendation or direction for you, commissioners, that they work together.
I just want the sheriff, at the table and at the forefront, and when things are brought to us, I want to know that I'm taking care of the guy that's got 700 radios on the ground, not 13.
That makes sense.
The motion was to table it, wasn't it? Wasn't your recommendation?
Right.
So moved.
And there was just discussion.
Yeah, we moved the
Captain?
already.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There was a couple of other things. The court actually asked us to bring back some information. If you want to table that too, or do you want to know about that, the insurance and the other issues?
Table.
Well, and I don't know that this item would allow us to talk about the insurance and other stuff.
This is for considering the options for
To purchase, right. And you're talking about, last time that we were here, we said, well, when the lightning struck, do we have insurance for that? That's what you wanted to report back on?
Just email us what you found out.
Yeah, Tom Godowski is here. He actually sent in the claim. I prepared the claim report and went to the insurance adjusters. They've talked to us. Mr. Copeland from Tri-County is trying to get some photographs to send to the claims adjusters. There are 2 different policies. One is for property, which would include buildings, and because of the tower's proximity to the Sheriff's Department, we think it's covered. If it's within 1,000 feet of the Sheriff's Department, that strike might be covered, so we may be able to glean some money, but we haven't got confirmation from the insurance company as far as I know.
Let me just ask a quick question. Is this being discussed in the context of what is to be done about any future work on a contract or purchase of this new radio equipment? Because that's what we're talking about in E.
Yeah, actually, it was one of the questions that the court brought forward to us to report back on at this time or in a future meeting.
Okay,
And so
well-
we were prepared to discuss that if the court needs to know.
Okay, I think the question for the moment is the status of any insurance claims before the court. And unless it is so in the context of funding.
To purchase the new radios,
You
you
know, I can see how we could do it that way. But, and so if that's the context here, then I don't have a problem with going forward.
Did Mr. Reyna have a comment to make?
Commissioner, just real quickly, I don't mean to burst your bubble or anything like that. But,
don't worry, man. I ain't got no bubble.
We're not the funding source of the Commissioner's Court.
I did not say in any way, shape, or form that you were.
And the sheriff has asked me to convey to Commissioner's Court that he's at this time, he's not willing to fund for this project. You got to remember that we run a budget with our Fund 90 source, that we pick up the cost of about 30% of the vehicles used in the sheriff's office on a yearly basis. We've just hired 10 full-time deputies to be out on the street from Fund 90. We have 2 part-time deputies that we fund on a yearly basis to help serve papers with the Civil Process Division. And we are spending money from that Fund 90. We have other plans to hire additional officers to put more boots on the ground to help out there, and because we're short in manpower, and we have not received any funding for additional deputies from Commissioner's Court since since 2005, I believe. You know, so we need manpower, we need more vehicles, and that's what we're doing with our Fund 90 monies. He's already given Commissioner's Court $250,000 to help hire.
Didn't we just
the additional
give you some jailers, in the last budget? No?
Yeah, and he also committed
I think we did,
$250,000. Yeah.
This year, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, he committed $250,000 from Fund 90, and we have a budget set up,
again,
and it's a long-term expense that we're making with these additional officers.
My question was not necessarily funding. I know that it's been mentioned. My question and concern was the utilization of the tower by 700 or so of your folks. And I want to make sure that you are taken into consideration in any decision made.
I appreciate that.
And I want you to be at the table.
And we weren't involved in yesterday's meeting, and I wish we would have.
Okay.
And
well, again, though.
That's his point.
That's my point,
You should have
right
been
now. I want you as a department to be there. I want you to be involved. I want someone in your department to know what's occurring. You are the largest user
Absolutely,
of that system.
100%.
You are the ones that you're the first responders on every call that people make, okay?
And Beto's very good about communication, but I don't know what happened yesterday, but we weren't involved with his meeting. But Joe is our chief head dispatcher, and he's the one that's very familiar with what's going on. And And he's our guy that would be at those
and
meetings.
we want you there. I want you there,
I appreciate that.
And the misunderstanding was me finding out I didn't understand what he was saying. Now it's perfectly clear that y'all need to be at the table because you have the most radios.
Yep, absolutely. And
Sure.
we have the site there at the sheriff's office. We take care of it, make sure everything's in working order at all times. And if anything's wrong, I know Joe was right away gets a hold of technicians and stuff like that.
And if the sheriff wants to give us some money, it'll always help.
I mean, I think it's important we all work together for the same ends,
Absolutely. And just a little back, I mean, at the sheriff's office, you all know, we brought in about $13 million in grants to help build the sheriff's office where it's at today. We bought equipment, cars, hired additional officers, and we've been very busy. We'd love to help Beto in any way we can and put our resources to help him look for grants and try to find a funding source.
But just like cars are necessities for you, so is a radio communication tower.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you can't dispatch cars without having a tower to
we
do it with.
understand the hard times that everybody's having right now with budget restraints and stuff like that. That's why we have aggressively pursued all these grants throughout the, since the sheriff came back in 2005, and we would continue to help Beto, and if we can be involved in this, in helping find grants or other funding sources besides Fund 90 to get this done. Okay?
Perfect. Well, thank you very much.
Mr. Judge Pro Tem, let me make one quick comment in the context of upgrading and purchasing this new radio equipment. I was not invited, or maybe I was invited. I didn't attend the meeting that was held yesterday. I've talked to Mr. Barrera a bit about it. And one thing that I think is important to keep in mind here when we start talking about purchases is that we have the bidding laws to follow, and I haven't heard any discussion of that. Okay, so, well,
Well, but we could purchase through the Houston Galveston Area Council of Government.
Well, now that may be true. I know that I advised everyone to speak to our purchasing agent, you know, to make sure that everything is done according to law. We're talking about a big contract here. Like I said, it may have been discussed at the meeting yesterday. My only comment was, let's just make sure that whatever purchases we do, we comply with the purchasing laws on. That's it.
Bruce, Mr. Hodge, in yesterday's meeting, Mike or Mr. Forbes did attend. We made sure that we covered that aspect.
Okay, terrific.
The meeting. He was there. He coordinated part of the meeting. The reason the sheriff's office, we didn't call him was because it was more of talking directly to Motorola about the current issue, which is something that the sheriff's office is very familiar with. If we invited them to the meeting, they weren't going to hear anything new to what's going on. Our whole purpose is we got two vendors, Cameron County and Hidalgo, and both of them work for Motorola. We're just talking directly to Motorola just to kind of get some face-to-face time since it is a project of this magnitude.
And just for the record, Mr. Martin from Motorola is here. I did attend the meeting yesterday, and it was basically information gathering more than anything. There was nothing decided at that point to purchase anything. It was more, these are some of the issues we have, Motorola. Can you address these issues? And if we go into the next step of purchasing, you know, make sure you highlight all of these items so that when you bring it to Commissioner's Court, if you are going to be the vendor, these are the things that need to be considered and make sure you bring to light for all of us. That was mostly the purpose of the meeting, and making sure that, you know, because, you know, at our last meeting, there was talk about one of their vendors said, you know, in the past, it's going to cost you 30. The other one fixed it for 4. And so we're like, hey, Motorola, what's going on here? So that was really more of what the meeting was about yesterday, just to kind of get down to those basics and then, you know, in the future, figure out how we're going to go forward with this. But I agree with Commissioner Garza. I think, you know, when we get to the purchasing or decision-making, the sheriff needs to be there. And this is something that, because of our hurricane season being around the corner, we can't wait too long to take action.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, I have a motion to table, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries. Item F, discussion and possible action on the resolution approving the offer received from Dogleg Park LLC to purchase the following property, Lot 2, Block 1, Section 1, the Spanish Dagger Subdivision, Cameron County, Texas, according to the map or plat thereof, recorded in Plat Cabinet Slide 277A and 316A, Plat Records of Cameron County, Texas.
Judge, can we do this after the executive session? Because I have an executive session item on as well.
Okay, we'll go ahead and table this for now, or not act. Okay. Item G, consideration and possible approval of an order clarifying the terms by which additional fees may be imposed and collected by the county tax assessor collector for operating the scofflaw program for Cameron County and pursuant to contracts with various cities in Cameron County. I've been asked to table this item by legal.
Move the table.
I have a second.
Motion by Commissioner Garza, second by Commissioner Hernandez.
I have a concern. I understand there's still some clarification needed on the administrative fee. Is that the $20 fee, Bruce?
Yes, that's what we're working on. I have a proposed order, and it's been circulated. There's been a couple of observations made in it that will take a little time to fix.
It is my understanding that the fact is we can still collect the fees as far as people owing fines to the JP courts. We just cannot collect the fee.
Well,
why are we doing this? It's about $20,000 a week that we're losing, and we seem to be piddling with this It's not ready, it's not, we need to get this, you know, off center, or allow him to continue. Tony, is it true that you're not collecting at all right now, nothing? Okay, why are we not collecting the fees? We're not talking about the administrative fee, but the actual fines that are due.
Bruce, do we have, I mean, there's some legal reasons, I guess, that need to be discussed further in order to go back to implementation, and I think that's why Bruce had recommended
I think at this point, we are, are fairly well grounded on the law. I thought we had an understanding with the tax assessor collector that to proceed with the flagging, with the collection process of the fees, fines, taxes, warrants, whatnot, foregoing the additional $20 fee for the time being until certain things get done. And so this comes is a bit of a surprise to me today.
Okay, so your understanding, Bruce, was...
What's your surprise, Bruce?
What the surprise is that we are not doing the underlying fee, fine, or taxes, warrant collection.
But wasn't that department directed to not do that?
It was some time ago, sir. Yes, it was.
Why would it
And
surprise you
then,
today? You know, I mean, everybody knew that that was going to happen when we said stop.
well,
I think part of the problem originally, Bruce, was on the reporting issues, and that's why we stopped it, in addition to the $20 fee, remember?
I remember the discussion. I don't want to go into a great deal of detail about the executive session discussion that we had. We did temporarily suspend the collection of this additional fee. I've since had some conversations with Mr. Isaguirre and have suggested that it is fine to collect everything but the additional fee. That's where I last left it before this came up just a moment ago. So, my recommendation, if there is one needed at this point, is to proceed with collecting the fees, the fines, the taxes, the monies to be generated,
Do we need to undo
for the
our
county.
table?
Sir?
Do we need to undo our table that we have not voted on yet?
No, we don't need to undo it. I think what I'm trying to say here is that there would be nothing that I know of to prevent the further collection of the underlying fees and taxes and whatnot, on the county level, until we have the discussion that I would like to have with you all further on this subject, and until we have the wording of the clarifying order prepared and adopted.
Well, then for purposes of him continuing to do scofflaw without charging the $20 fee, can we approve an order that orders him to do that?
Or continue?
Continue doing that without the fee until further order of this court? With that same item?
I withdraw my motion.
And the second?
Is that possible, Bruce? Because it says consideration possible approval.
Wait just a second. We just had a motion to withdraw the motion.
We just withdrew the motion.
The table.
Well, I think we have to call a vote, and if it fails, then we're back to the drawing board.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay, so let me call the vote on tabling. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Motion fails. Okay. I guess we're back on...
We're back on the discussion.
We're back to the item.
The agenda item has to do with the possible approval of an order clarifying. It would be within this topic to today issue, an order. There is no prepared order for the order we're discussing now, because the order that I have been working on has to do with both the underlying fees and the additional fee. But the court could order, from the bench here, to proceed with collecting the underlying fines, fees, and costs, you know, as per the things that are mentioned in the statute today, and await a further order clarifying
Any
the
additional
imposition
fee?
of the additional fee.
Okay.
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Garza,
Second.
second by Commissioner Hernandez. Any further discussion?
I will ask Tony if he has any issues with that.
Pete, do we have a meeting scheduled for next week?
Pete,
Do you have a meeting scheduled for next week?
can you? A special meeting.
So are you saying that you can't do it without the collection of that $20 fee, Mr. Izaguirre? It's already part of the program, it's automatic? Okay. Okay.
Can it be done?
It can be done.
I mean, legal, can that be done?
We can have a special meeting, if you wish to call a special meeting and have the order ready for the special meeting, yes, we can do that.
Or can we approve this order subject to your finishing the corrections you need to make to the order?
Well, we could do that. I would like to speak with you all in some more detail about it in executive session before we actually issue the order that's being contemplated.
Okay. Well then, so then we probably shouldn't move forward right now then.
My biggest concern is $20,000 a day collection of the county that we're not going to get back. So,
Well,
you know,
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I didn't mean to interrupt.
$20,000 a week.
Yeah, what I was trying to make clear a moment ago is the issue is the additional fee. There's not any question that we can move forward on the program. The question is the program plus the additional fee.
Can we set a meeting for Monday morning?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock Monday morning.
Well, I don't know if we can discuss that. But
You have to call the meeting right now. The judge is out. So we're suggesting that
Just set a
maybe
meeting and call
Okay, well,
we're not going to vote on it. You just do it.
for now, let's take care of this. Let's take care of this item. And basically what Tony's saying, Bruce, is the way the system's set up, he can't move forward without collecting that fee.
Well, and that may be so. I would defer to our tax assessor collector who knows much more about the details of the system. But if it's a question of receiving the $20 fee, it would seem to me that we could proceed without actually receiving that fee, because the other parts of this system are just fine, and they're ready to go, and they're in place. Okay. So it would just be a matter of saying, for the moment, you know, this $20 additional fee will not be collected. All other fines, underlying obligations that are caught in the scofflaw program, including the flagging system, may proceed as it is right now.
If the assessor collector chooses to.
Yes.
Yes.
You want to make that the motion?
Yeah, and if he can't, yeah, that is the motion.
Okay, modification of the motion to continue to proceed with scofflaw with the exclusion of collecting the $20 fee if the tax assessor collector is able to do so.
Correct.
Well, that's the amended motion by Commissioner Garza, second by Commissioner Hernandez. Any further discussion?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Izaguirre, did you state that the program really doesn't allow you to move forward without charging the $20 fee? We would have,
Well, it'll be Monday.
Monday, man, let's have a meeting and just do it.
Yes.
I think that would be a fine alternative, you know, and I do not wish to forestall collection of these underlying costs, fees, fines, and whatnot.
No, that's fine.
Not even
Okay.
gonna get paid.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item H,
We did it.
we already did it. Item I, we did it. Item J, consideration and possible action regarding reimbursements from FEMA.
You know,
move to table.
A motion to
Second.
table by Commissioner Benavides,
Second.
second by Commissioner Hernandez.
question, discussion, or whatever.
Yes, discussion.
Okay, where's Mr. Barrera? You gone already?
He's on the tower connecting wires.
Well, he needs to get on the FEMA reimbursement issues. I think that the Emergency Preparedness Department is a go-to for this item. I don't know who's handling this item today. I don't know, I mean, who are you, David Garcia? You're FEMA now. Well, you know, this item needs to, always, and Tom Gadowski, you know, over there. But I think that this item
Happy
is an
belated
item.
birthday, Tom.
This is an item that, you know, who are the best experts in dealing with, you know, issues of disaster, issues of, you know, knowing what is being worked on and what is being done than that department. And in the past, that was the department that took the lead on this issue. We've had problems in collecting from 3 years ago because paperwork is not totally done the way it needs to be done. And, you know, those are the guys that give the program. Mr. Hoskins is here. You know, those are the guys that know what we need to do. Those are the guys that do for everybody in the county all of the work, you know, and I think I want to rely on them to help us make sure that we recover the money that's out there, you know?
Your expertises are needed.
We're on the reimbursement from FEMA.
Yes, sir.
I want to, this is just a personal observation from my point of view. You know, I think that you guys should take the lead on this type of issue in regards to FEMA reimbursements. You are the guys that are out there with windshield assessments. You are the guys that are out there that compile, do the classes, and do everything for us in regards to the whole aspect of the emergency preparedness thing. And we've been waiting for 3 years to get reimbursed on damages because we don't, or more, because we don't have paperwork in place. We were relying on HR. I think that Robert Lopez was doing some of that work. But, you know, that's HR, you know. I mean, we need to utilize the folks that are where the rubber meets the road in damage assessments to help us with this type of project.
I don't know what to say. I can refer to Mr. Barrera. I don't think that we have the expertise that you're talking about. But, you know, I will talk to him about it and get back with you. I know that they hired a gentleman from what's the name of that company? Beck Environmental, who actually prepared the paperwork and submitted it to FEMA. But our office has never received any of that documentation. That was all being done by Mr. Lopez. And I understand there's a disconnect because he left.
You know, I would like to see you involved with this because you guys know the ins and outs of all that process, you know. And that's where your expertise would be very valuable to us in trying to recover, what, $2.5 million that's outstanding out there?
Yeah, and I don't think our office is even aware of what that entails. I mean, what reports are still pending, what's going on with that. But
What is this FEMA money derived from? Is it cleanup and disaster or buildings? It's debris removal. Okay. Didn't we just have an RFP or RFQ for companies doing debris removal?
That's
Okay.
the guy that doesn't work.
One of the things, because I don't remember, someone talked to me about it, but one of the things that I remember one company saying is that we work getting all of our invoices and everything done up to FEMA standard, so counties don't have trouble getting reimbursed. Was that something, I don't know if you've already, I don't remember if we've already approved the contract or if you're still looking at that, but that was one thing I think that was being considered to avoid stuff like this, right?
Yeah, and the issue we're having is not at that level, but it goes into the governor's emergency management department, and they go through a series of audits. I think we've already gone through like 5 different audits, different levels, because we had different classifications. You know, one was debris removal, the other one was monitoring, the other one was streets, you know, public infrastructure. And what's lacking, I think it's like 1.2 million is from debris removal, but you know, we've submitted the paperwork, we've been audited. About a month and a half ago, you know, we got word that, you know, you're clear, you know, you should be receiving your final, you know, 1.2 million, but it's been 4 or 6 weeks and we're still waiting for that.
But you know, the folks that are most closely associated with those offices would be our emergency division of the county.
Right, yeah,
You know?
it's time consuming to put everything together. Yeah, the contractor, for example, debris removal contractor, they'll turn in all their paperwork that's required by FEMA so that the county or the county staff can put that report together. The monitoring portion of it while they're doing the debris, while the contractor's doing the debris removal, they're out there on the street making sure that they're following the FEMA guidelines. When they turn in their invoices, the monitoring, they review that, they monitor that, and make sure that it's properly following FEMA guidelines. When we do the actual worksheets that is required, you know, then they review that as well. But once it goes off, you know, then we're pretty much on our own. But you're correct, and I'm not sure. I did negotiate the contract with the debris removal contractor, but during the process of going through interviews, interviewing 5, 6 different contractors, that was brought up that, you know, some of them do go beyond, you know, what's just in their contract, and that is important because while we pay the contractor and they can pay their subs, we're out that money.
We gotta pay it.
Road and Bridge has been carrying that 1.2 probably for a couple of years now. And so,
3 years.
you know, if we're gonna be in it together, then, you know, they need to wait just like we're waiting.
Sure.
So if that contract's already been negotiated, then I was not aware of that, and we need to.
So, okay, well, maybe we need to make that part of the contract saying, look, we're gonna have a holdback of 30% till everything's paid. Basically their profit, I'm sure, because, I mean, they've got to pay their people, and
Right.
and these companies are probably big companies that
Exactly.
have to wait on payment anyway.
Every single company we interviewed said the same thing. I mean, they have the bonding capacity to be able to carry that for multiple years. I mean, they make sure that they pay their subs every Friday. We heard that like from 3 or 4 different companies. Every Friday we pay our subs.
And all I want is like your expertise in that area. And not only your expertise, but the connectivity to the folks that are responsible for approving that invoice that we send.
Yeah, exactly, because you need a clearinghouse. I mean, for example, on public infrastructure, Public Works, you know, the foreman did probably 90% of the work, you know, putting all the invoices, all the work hours, all the equipment, all that was together, and then it was sent to the Administrative Services Department. So, but you do need somebody collecting all that information, putting it together, and then sending it off. It is very time consuming.
And we don't have a person to do, I mean, it used to be Robert,
Right.
because, hey, do this, but there's no one assigned, and what Commissioner Garza is saying is because this is emergency management, this is a direct function of that office.
Right.
Yeah, and they have the connections, you know, with the governor's office and with FEMA. I mean, when those folks come into our county, they don't come visit me or you or Pete. They go to emergency management department. That's who they want to see.
Who else do you have in your department? How many people do you have, Mr. Hoskins?
Mr. Barrett is the director, then there's myself, Nat Flores is a planner, we have a secretary, and then the rest of the personnel work for the fire marshal's office.
What about Nat Flores? I mean, Nat Flores is the guy that sends out all those emails that we've got weather coming up and stuff like that. Could we maybe
We can make a phone call
assign him
to Austin and talk to GDM about this. We just need to know what's outstanding, what hadn't been paid.
That would be good.
We can do that.
I mean, that would be good, but I'd like to see you more involved with that. I mean, I see you in, I mean, we dealt with the fire ban, and we dealt with the 8-liners, and we dealt with all these things that are coming up, you know, and I think that 1.2 million owed to Public Works, which I know at least 2 of us are very interested in recovering, is a critical piece that we need to look to you guys for help.
We'll get with Pete's office and find out what's outstanding, make a phone call.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Supplemental.
Meeting, item 1A, consideration, authorization, renew the following insurance bids, RFPs for 1 additional year. Property casualty, windstorm, hail, McGriff, vehicles, auto liability, auto physical damage, collision and comprehensive, TAC, general liability, TAC, bridges, international physical structure, loss of business income, McGriff, contractor equipment, McGriff, district clerk, errors and omissions, Montalvo Insurance, and commercial crime, public employees, dishonesty, Montalvo Insurance.
Judge, Commissioners, on this agenda, we have Carolyn Miller, with RWL Group. She's the county's consultant on insurance matters. And Tom Godowski did like to present some information relative to all of these agenda items.
Commissioners, we received the renewal quotes from provided by McGriff. The renewal quote had been attached to the agenda item.
Thank you.
I would just like to highlight some of the numbers. Comparing to our overall value of the property raised approximately $3 million to $136,132,000. The combined premium for property, bridges, contractor equipment, excess flood, the proposed premium is $816,013. And the increase is by the line of the coverage, and you can see at the bottom of the second page on the right hand, you can see the...
Hold on, I'm confused, because is that on the package that we got, or is that on what we just got handed out?
There were 2 pages Excel spreadsheet.
Okay, there was the agenda request item, then there was an email from you, that's 2 pages.
Okay, this is the, Commissioner Sanchez, this is what I'm talking about, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
not this.
No.
Okay.
So the year-to-year increase in the rate in primary property coverage is 10.9%, excess property coverage 7.75%, boiler and machinery 4.6%, terrorism 8.9%, the bridges, including the loss of business income, is the highest increase, 12.65%. Contractor equipment, which is pretty much heavy equipment for the county owns, it's 8.48%. And excess flood is 6.70% increase. I would just like to point out that yesterday, late afternoon, we received at one point, Texas Association of Counties indicated that they were interested in providing us the quote for the property. The quote came in late yesterday afternoon. It was an incomplete quote because it did not include the bridges, and their proposal, looking at the same insured value, was $935,000. And we would have to look at additional approximate $150,000 to secure insurance for the bridges, including loss of business income. So this is for, this is the line of coverages provided through the McGriff insurance agencies. Now, when it comes to the vehicles insurance and general liability, this line of insurance are provided by TAC, and the renewal rates that you should have, there is a Texas Association of Counties logo on the top of the page. Yes, that's the one. You have a comparison of rates from 2012, 2013 to 2011, 2012. And actually, auto liability went down slightly. General liability went down slightly. Auto physical damage increased, but per vehicle cost remained the same. The increase is due to the fact that we had more new vehicles that required full coverage. So the number of the vehicle with physical damage coverage increased from 176 last year to 204 this year.
Are those costs paid by grants if they're grant vehicles?
If they are grant vehicles, yes. But let's say in case of Sheriff's Office, most of the vehicles that were purchased under grants right now, they are rolled into general fund. I'm talking about, I don't think the grant provided, as far as I remember, the grant did not provide, insurance.
For example, we
cost.
bought a vehicle today from a 4x4 Tahoe by Stone Garden Grant.
Yes.
For $35,000 today on our agenda. Does that grant pay the insurance cost associated with it?
I cannot answer you this question right now at this moment as I speak, but I would always recommend that insurance funding source be addressed at the time when we,
Well, we did not address insurance funding source on that particular vehicle.
Yeah.
And my question is, are we, because we get told, and like Mr. Reyna came and said today, that we don't increase our budgets and don't give them more and don't do this. But every time they buy a vehicle, and if we pay for insurance, that is part of the budget that we provide as a county for them. And there's a huge increase there. The only place I know that we had more vehicles in the fleet was in the Sheriff's Department.
Marta just let me know that as of now, this particular grant is on the mileage reimbursement. So the grant reimburses the county per mile, but we are expected to I believe,
to
pick
buy
up
the insurance.
all other costs.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
Do we have a choice? No, right?
My personal recommendation, and I don't know, Carolina, would you like to address the court?
Yes. I reviewed the renewals that came in, and they are very much in line with what we see in the marketplace at this point. And in fact, the increase is actually lower than what we've been seeing in what's called Tier 1 counties, where their exposure is to catastrophe-type wind and hail. We've been seeing increases in the amount of 15 to 25%. And when we were negotiating with McGriff on the property coverages, we pushed them pretty hard and were able to negotiate lower percentage increase than what was originally offered. So I would say that this is a very good renewal.
Did you find anyone else that was close or better?
This is not a year for an RFP. We did an RFP last year, I believe. And I believe an RFP is done every 3 years. And the interim years are done on a negotiation basis. McGriff would go out to multiple multiple insurance companies and request proposals, the majority of the insurance companies were not willing to provide proposals because this is so much of a Tier 1 area where there's quite a bit of exposure to the hurricane. And the incumbent carrier was willing to provide this type of a quote. There was another carrier that said they were going to come in with a quote, but they never did.
My question is, did you talk to any other companies to get the actual quotes? I mean, did you get?
Other than McGriff?
Yes.
No, they are the agent of record right now.
Right, but to negotiate increases, in other words, you've got McGriff, and let's say you have ABC Insurance, and it's a renewal, but we can not renew if we choose to, right?
Well, you can not renew, but then you would be without insurance.
Well, I understand that, but let's just say instead of May 31st, our deadline, April comes around and we say, okay, company ABC, if we were to go with you on this, what kind of rate would you give us? Well, we would give you this rate, which is what we're paying right now. So when McGriff says there's going to be a 10% increase, well, why are you going to give us a 10% increase, McGriff? ABC will give us the same rate.
That's basically what we do in an RFP. When there's an RFP put out, we invite all agents who wish to participate, and they go out to markets and get competitive quotes. But that's not done every year. And the reason it's not done every year is that insurance companies don't like to spend time on quoting the same business every year. And the underwriters, if they see it come across their desk every year, they're going to finally say, no, we're not even going to look at this, and they'll get nobody.
Is there any maximum percentage associated with those particular plans? You know, I mean, in other words, if you're saying the RFP is a 3-year RFP, right?
Yes.
Okay. They don't have like a maximum increase that we would allow for them to consider, you know? I mean,
Not necessarily.
so then, I think we're kind of held hostage by the insurance company to charge us the second year. They can come in with a good quote the first year, and guess what? Now we're looking at an average of about 10% increase on
Second and third year.
the second and third year.
If I may to add, we do have another quote from TAC, and TAC was very competitive in, I started with the county in 2001. When I first started, our value of insured property was much lower. But when I started first, the annual property insurance rate was like $135,000. After Dolly, the first year after Dolly, the premium with TAC went to $500,000+. Then they decided not to renew coverage with Cameron County. But right now, their quote that they came in, the comparable quote would be approximately $935,000 plus about another $150,000 for the bridges. So you would be looking well in excess of $1 million.
Much more than we're paying here.
Yes.
I understand that, but I think that we just want to hold these people a
Yeah.
little bit more.
What
I mean,
is
like,
the-
don't raise it more than 3% a year in the 3 years of your contract or something.
I don't,
When we do the RFPs, that's part of what we try to do, is to get them to get the insurance companies to agree to either the same rate for a period of time or no more than a 5 to 10% increase over the period of time when it's not going to be an RFP. But they don't have to agree to that,
Well, then why renew? Why give an option to renew? Why not RFP it every year?
because then you would have no insurance companies that would be willing to even look at it.
They want longevity.
If you keep, they don't want to spend their time. It's an
They won't give us a
exercise.
3-year price.
No, and not in most cases, because this is a Tier 1 county. They don't know what the hurricane season is going to bring. You're getting wind coverage. And if you've got really good hurricane season, then it's, the pricing is typically not going to, could go down, actually.
When is the renewal date? When does our,
One.
I'm sorry?
7-1.
Oh,
7-1.
7-1, I'm sorry.
July 1. Do we still have time to RFP it right now?
No.
Then
Because of the process, the length of time the process takes.
why do we wait till now then to bring it before us? Why wasn't this brought before us in March? or February, when we could do that.
Because we've always renewed, you know, when
So
we're
they
within the
We never
RFP.
questioned.
Well, because they know, I mean, they got us hostage, so they could say, you know what, we're gonna jack you 10% because we know you're gonna renew for the next 2 years. And so, I guess, and ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm not, who are you?
My name is Carolyn Miller, and I'm with RWL Group. We're your independent risk management consultants.
Okay, and how much have we paid you this year to tell us this?
I really don't know. I don't send out the bills.
The total cost of the annual agreement as per contract, including the review of the policies we are going to receive upon renewal, is $12,600. That includes 2 trips to Cameron County. So this is the cost.
So why would we pay the $12,000 for the year 2 and 3 if we're gonna automatically renew anyway?
We do not pay for, this contract is a time-based contract. It's, we do not necessarily have to renew it for each year.
Well, but from what I'm hearing is it's an automatic renewal every year.
But they review all, not only this, but all of the other.
Well, right, but if all our other contracts that we're gonna get, we're always gonna renew anyway?
No, only for the time period of which that RFP covered for, right?
Well, it's not an automatic renewal. It's just that McGriff is the agent of record, and they go out to the insurance companies to get competitive bids, and no other agent does. And we negotiate with them to try and get the best possible pricing, the best possible coverages for the county as possible, with only one agent involved. And then every 3 years, other agents are invited to participate in the process. But it's not just an automatic renewal with the existing insurance.
And McGriff did contact other insurance companies, but they choose not to come up with a proposal.
So, okay, so McGriff is an independent agent that finds companies to cover us.
Yes.
And so he's kind of like our consultant to go find the right insurance that is going to give us the best service and price. McGriff, right?
They're agent of record, but not a consultant.
Well, I mean, basically does the same thing.
I don't think so.
If they're going and saying, okay, you know what, we've got company 1, 2, and 3, we're recommending 1.
Yes, they are connecting insurance market to get the coverage requested.
And then your job is to tell us McGriff's doing a good job or not?
And our job is also to negotiate. We don't think that McGriff has come up with something based on our knowledge of the market. We'll go back to McGriff and say, this is out of line. Go back to the underwriters, tell them that they need to reassess what they're willing to do because they're offering too much, they're wanting too much money. Then when the policies come in, we make sure that the policies have been issued according to what you agreed to buy, which is not always the case.
And that goes back to my original question. Where else did you look? Because if you didn't really look and you're saying, okay, McGriff brought us these renewals, well, then how do we really know we're not getting overcharged or the increase?
Originally, when we went for
we had one other bid from TAC.
Well, it's
Their
not a
bid-
complete bid.
No, not even complete, and it's still over 250,000 more than this one, okay?
No, I understand. I'm just wondering what was done to really check these companies.
You see, originally when we went for the bid, in 2010, we had, as far as I remember, three major insurance agencies that responded to our request for proposal, and they provided, they advertised their qualifications. And out of these 3, McGriff was chosen as the one with the most expertise in the government public sector, the most experience working with the Tier 1 counties, coastal counties. So this was the reason why we chose McGriff in the
Providing the most
first place.
program for the best pricing.
Okay. Got a motion approved by Commissioner Hernandez, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Now we have item 5, executive session, items A through E. Do I have a motion to go in executive session? Motion by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Hernandez to discuss item 5A, deliberation regarding an offer to purchase the following property struck off to Cameron County for itself and other taxing jurisdictions pursuant to Vernon Statutes 551.072, Lot 2, Block 1, Section 2, Spanish Dagger Subdivision, Cameron County, Texas, according to the map of plat thereof, recorded in Plat Cabinet Slide 277A and 316A, Plat Records of Cameron County, Texas. Item B, confer with legal counsel concerning Frank A. Tompkins individually and his trustee, and Karen Tompkins Young versus County of Cameron County, Texas, cause number 2009-10-5624A for discussion of status of case, settlement negotiations, and strategy in view of recent rulings by the trial court, possible appeal, and whether to hire expert outside attorneys to represent the county on appeal to handle any such appeal pursuant to Vernon Government Code Section 551.071. 1A and B and 2, and Local Government Code 262.024A4. Item C, confer with Commissioners Court legal counsel concerning presentation of claim by Janssen International LLC in connection with public insurance adjusting as a result of property damage and repair costs due to Hurricane Dolly pursuant to Vernon's Government Code 551.071.1A and 2. Item D, deliberation regarding the possible sale of the following county-owned properties pursuant to Vernon Code 551.072 and 551.071.2, Lot 11, except the southeasterly 40 feet thereof in Block 92 of Laguna Madre Beach Subdivision and Share 1 of the San Martin Grant, Cameron County, Texas, according to Volume 20, page 11, map records, Cameron County, Texas. Item DB, Lot 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 30, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, all in Block 18 of re-subdivision of parts of Blocks 18 and 19 Rio Grande Beach Subdivision, Unit 2, Cameron County, Texas, according to Volume 23, page 16, map records, Cameron County, Texas. Item DC, lots 30, 31, Block number 18, a re-subdivision of Block 18 and 19 Rio Grande Beach Subdivision, Unit 2, Cameron County, Texas, duly recorded in Volume 23, page 16 of the map records, Cameron County, Texas. And item E, deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of parcel 152 Primera Road in the Precinct 4 area pursuant to Government Code 551.072.